Canadian professional football on CBC. Brought to you by Canadian Pacific, owned by Canadians working for Canadians. General Motors and your Chevrolet and Oldsmobile dealers across Canada. KTEL International, specialists in leisure time products.
Live from Taylor Field, the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Ottawa Roughriders. Most Saskatchewan fans knew their team would fall on hard times when Ron Lancaster retired as quarterback. However, they thought they'd have a win before this stage of the '79 season. So the faithful have gathered again here today at Taylor Field and hope that some of the old Saskatchewan magic is back. Hi everyone, I'm John Wells with Don Whitman and Terry Evanson. And the Ottawa Roughriders in town to meet Saskatchewan boast the best offensive output anywhere in Eastern Canada. However, they still trail Montreal by 5 points in the standings. So to catch Montreal, George Brancato needs a win today.
Here we need 5 in a row, I guess, to catch Montreal, but it's going to be a tough afternoon here.
You worry about playing a team that hasn't won in 11 games?
Well, you really worry about every team, and I think Saskatchewan is fielding the best team they've had on the field so far. And last couple weeks ago against Montreal, they did a good job.
Is there any difficulty getting your particular ball club up for a game like this with Saskatchewan's record?
You never know. I hope they're up for the game. They know what they have to do to get first place. They know the odds are really slim for them to get there, and if there's any way they're going to get there, they're going to have to start winning every football game, and they got to start here.
Do you think you still have a good shot at first place, George?
Well, it's going to be tough to make it because we have to win 5, and Montreal has to lose 1 game along the way, and we have to beat them down to the Olympic Stadium, which we've had problems doing. And it's going to be tough to make first place, but I think if we give it a good shot, you know, there's always hope.
We'll be back with Don Whitman and Terry Evanson and their pregame look in just a moment.
Sunrise, day breaks, dawn comes and the world awakes. There's a brand new day on its way, and Sanyo makes it better. Sunrise, day breaks, dawn comes and the world awakes. There's a brand new day on its way, and Sanyo makes it better.
Wake up to audio with the true-to-life quality and richness you've been dreaming about. Wake up to Sanyo's new generation of audio components. It's an exciting new day for sound. Live it to the full with Sanyo.
Sunrise, day breaks, dawn comes and the world awakes. There's a brand new day on its way, and Sanyo makes it better.
Hi, everybody. Well, Terry Evanson, this afternoon, I would think the big task for George Brancato is to keep his Ottawa Roughriders up, and I'm sure that's what he's been working on all week in preparing for this game.
Toughest thing to do for ball players to know that you're coming up against a team that's 0-11. Stay high individually, stay loose during practice during the week, because you know you have to win this particular ball game if you're going to try to get to first place, and you might as well start today.
Ron Lancaster, last night, despite the fact his team is 0-11, still had an optimistic outlook towards this game. As a matter of fact, he was saying that all the players are quite enthusiastic still.
I don't know how he had a smile on his face, but what else are you going to do, Don? I mean, listen, you're 0-11. They've gone through 120 ball players already. They're going to keep bringing them in, but what the heck? He's got to fuel the team. They've got to play, and he's going to give it their best shot.
Well, I hardly think Ron Lancaster anticipated it would be this tough in his initial season as head coach. And just prior to the game, I was talking with Tony Gabriel down at field level, and Tony Gabriel, of course, has quite a string going of consecutive games in which he has caught at least 1 pass. And Tony and Ron Lancaster were joshing good-naturedly, and Lancaster said, I think I could stop you. Hunting season is open in Saskatchewan, and if I had a gun, I could probably do it. But Gabriel, of course, is looking for his 103rd consecutive game in which he catches at least 1 pass, and he is zeroing in on that all-time professional record.
It's an outstanding record, and I think all the accolades should go to Tony because he's been an outstanding receiver for many years, and he's been injury-free. That's one of the main points for him. He's an outstanding athlete in other things that he does, and he stayed that injury-free, so he's been able to do it.
Well, the Ottawa Roughriders and Saskatchewan Roughriders are just about set, and down at field level, we're set for our national anthem.
Ladies and
China Wheaton Chorus in the singing of our national anthem, O Canada.
The teams are almost set. We'll be back.
Get ready for a total disco eclipse, the ultimate disco experience. The Jacksons, Instant Fun, Gary's Gang, and Hot Chocolate. A Taste of Honey, Tea Connection, Evelyn Champagne King, and Edwin Starr. Contact the ultimate disco eclipse on KTEL Records and Tapes. It's in stores now.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders will be kicking off to the Ottawa Roughriders, and back to receive Ian Mofford and Richard Crump. Bob McAreedy will perform the kickoff chore for Saskatchewan. Pardon me, it's going to be Al Chorney. The kick is taken by Richard Crump at his own 11-yard line. Richard Crump looking for some blocking. He runs into some difficulties at the 19-yard line. Emil Nielsen was the first man in to make contact. He had some help from Tim Hook. And this Saskatchewan club on that opening kickoff certainly seems to be an inspired ball team. A 53-yard kickoff, a 1-yard run back. Here taking a look at the Ottawa Roughrider offensive lineup. The quarterback, Conrad Holloway, and the receiving core and the running backs he has to work with. 1st and 10 for the Roughriders. The pitch to Richard Crump. Crump reverses his field, manages to get one block, breaks away from Marshall and is trying to out-sprint Marshall to the sidelines, and does, for a gain of about 14 yards. At one time, it appeared as though Richard Crump was going to be trapped for a loss. He converts it into a 14-yard gain.
Good look at it from our end zone camera. They're sweeping left. They shut it off. The linebackers came in inside. He reversed his field. Now it's just a matter of back against back. Sheds one tackle, keeps on running. Richard feels that he's got something to prove after coming from Winnipeg and Calgary. Had an outstanding game against Montreal, and he wants to prove that he's the running back that he's always thought he was.
A week ago today, in that tie game against the Alouettes, Crump ran for 97 yards on 17 carries. This is Calvin Prince, and Prince gets out to the 35-yard line, a pickup of a couple of yards. He was brought down there by Keith Miller. Prince on the season has run for 139 yards. There have been a variety of people in running back positions for the Roughriders this season.
Don, Keith Miller, 42, has been a welcome addition to the Saskatchewan team. He sheds off the block from the center, Don Smith. Just comes right down the line. That's his position. Makes the tackle. Nice play.
Coach Ron Lancaster was saying one problem he does have is learning to play the middle. He does not have the experience. Richard Crump trying to get that first down. He's going to be very close. That quick opening play with Crump running into the arms of Roger Goree. Goree, of course, one of the many injured Saskatchewan ball players in this 1979 season. He is back in the lineup, playing his first game since early in the season. He suffered a head injury and had a number of severe headaches that prevented him from playing, and he finally received a clean bill of health just this past week.
An interesting point about that play was a sprint draw. You said something that was pertinent about Keith Miller. Lancaster said that new to the position, he's going to run out of there. With that sprint draw, with the motion of the backs, he's going to move, and they'll drop back against the flow of the motion, and he can pick up some good yardage.
A punting situation for the Ottawa Roughriders. Frank Dark and Al Chorney are back to receive this third down kick by Jerry Organ. Chorney fields it at his own 29-yard line. Chorney, the rookie out of the University of British Columbia, is up to the 37-yard line. He was tackled there by Jim Piaskowski. A 39-yard kick and an 8-yard return. The Saskatchewan Roughriders with Lloyd Patterson at quarterback. They have Bob Poley at center. Quilter and Aldag are the guards. Miller and Wester the tackles. Wilder and Walters at wide receiving positions. Jerry Fellner in a wingback spot. Laurie Skolrud the slot back. Strickland and Huckleby are the running backs, and Patterson is the quarterback. Inside with Harlan Huckleby, and Huckleby gets out to the 44-yard line. He made his debut a few weeks back at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton in a 52-10 loss to the Edmonton Eskimos. On the season, he has run for 75 yards. Lancaster quite keen on this young ball player who came to the club via Michigan and New Orleans of the National Football League. He feels he has quite a promising future. Second and about 4 for the Riders. The ball is at their own 43. They go inside with Huckleby again, and Huckleby has the first down. He's across the 50 to the 51. Brad Carr made the tackle. Well, Lancaster was enthusiastic last night in discussing this afternoon's contest against Ottawa, and the players certainly don't seem to lack for any enthusiasm, despite the fact they've lost 11 in a row.
Man, excellent block here on Ray Nettles. Curtis Webster just pulls out on a false trap. They're in a 3-man line right now, and they're going to run at Ottawa.
Ottawa using that 3-4 defense. This time they catch Mike Strickland for a loss of about 1. Ron Fox came from his linebacking position. What they've done is they've dropped Piaskowski out of there, and they've moved Mike Finucci, Raines, and Hedges into the front 3, and added Glassford into a linebacking position. Glassford, of course, could move up to a down lineman position depending upon the situation, but they basically started with a 3-4 defensive set. 10:29 remaining in this opening quarter. It's scoreless between Saskatchewan and Ottawa. Saskatchewan with the football. The first pass of the game for Patterson. He may decide to run it. He's looking for a block from Strickland. Cuts back inside, and he has the first down. There's also a penalty flag on the play. Patterson picks up the first down at the 47.
Our end zone camera here's got a good shot of that 3-man line. You got a double team on the middle. He sees they're going to try to test him, see how long he can sit in the kitchen in there. They want to, how much heat they can put on him. Ray Nettle runs over, cuts back against the flow. Walter's got an excellent block. They feel Patterson can run the ball as a quarterback. They're going to use all his faculties, his abilities to run and to pass on the run.
There was a clipping infraction against Saskatchewan after the first down had been picked up, so the ball moves back to the Saskatchewan 48-yard line. It's 1st and 10 for Saskatchewan. Strickland trying to get outside. He got a block from Huckleby, but there were too many red and white jerseys over there, and Mike Nelms made the tackle, restricting the gain to about 3 yards. With 9:53 remaining in a scoreless first quarter, let's pause for this message.
Have the vision that leads you to the light. If you're gonna break new ground, you better do it right. There's a brand new way of doing things, and Buick's got the news. Car dealers, Buick car dealers. Car dealers, Buick car dealers.
Buick takes over the 80s with cars built for a changing world. LeSabre, Restyled, reduced in weight, room for 6. Regal, trim, poised, bursting with vitality. A 4-door Century with a whole new formal look for the 80s. Go for it. And of course, the unique Riviera with front-wheel drive. New times, new Buicks.
Cutting loose. Buick, cutting loose. Cutting loose. Buick, cutting loose.
Well, tomorrow, of course, is Thanksgiving Day, and Saskatchewan fans, at least some of them sitting on the far side, are indicating they'd like to do their feasting a day early at the expense of the Ottawa Roughriders. Second and 6. Patterson throwing, intended for Fellner. He can't hang on. There's also a penalty flag, and I think interference is going to be charged against John Sutton. Perhaps on the replay, we'll be able to pick up that interference call.
Well, from end zone camera, he's getting good pass protection. They're dealing to the outside. He lays on a deep drag-out pattern. I thought this was a good play by that defensive back. Fellner had the ball in his hands. Sutton came in low, made a good stick, dropped the football. The man in the spot called the play.
So it's a first down for Saskatchewan. The ball is at the Ottawa 40. 9:29 the time remaining in this opening quarter. Going to the short side, and he is upset at the 35-yard line by Peter Kreppen. Strickland, the leading rusher for the Roughriders. He's also been their leading pass receiver. He has picked up 529 yards in running with the football to rank number 5 in the Western Conference.
At the outset of the game, Don, it looked like we were going to get fairly wet down here this afternoon, but the skies have cleared quite a bit. The rain has stopped, and it's a pretty nice afternoon for football here in Regina.
Stroking that lucky rabbit foot certainly paid off for you, didn't it, John?
You're right. You're right.
This is Strickland again, and Strickland gets down to about the 31-yard line. He was bounced by Peter Kreppen and then Sutton. The fans imploring Coach Lancaster to leave the offense out there and go for it. They're about 1.5 yards, maybe 2 yards away from a first down.
From our ground level camera, we get a good hit, initial hit here by Kreppen, and then a follow through by John Sutton. That's a really good stick on open field tackle. They're in that 3-man line. They're trying to run at him, and they're getting some good drives.
Well, the fans certainly agree with the decision by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They're gambling on 3rd and 1. I think they may have it. Strickland had advanced across the 30 before he was belted back by Peter Kreppen, but they only had to get to the 30-yard line, and the indication is that it is a Saskatchewan first down, and this is quite a drive the Roughriders are managing to sustain in this opening quarter. They have run now 10 consecutive plays, and for the Roughriders in 1979, that has been somewhat unusual. The defense has been on the field for most of the time in the majority of their games. Over the middle, and Wilder couldn't catch the ball. He went high, but the rookie speedster from Florida could not catch the football. So it will be 2nd and 10 when we come back after this message.
An old soldier should never rust away. Not when you've got Tremclad rust paint to dress up metal that gets rusty and crusty. So in practically no time, he's bright and shining again. No wonder Tremclad is Canada's #1 selling rust paint.
Second and 10 for Saskatchewan. The ball is just inside the Ottawa 30-yard line. Patterson under some pressure. He's got 3 Ottawa Roughriders after him. Gets the pass away to Strickland. Strickland one-on-one over on the far side of the field. He gets a good block. And Strickland almost has the first down. As a matter of fact, final dive just before being upset by Robin Harbour may be enough for the first down.
He's showing excellent ability to get away from the heat. They've brought a double blitz from the outside. Fox on the right-hand side. He keeps his eyes downfield. An excellent play by the quarterback, Patterson, because he kept his eyes trying to find a receiver open, and he finds Strickland downfield.
That is down at the 13-yard line. It will be 1st and 10 for Saskatchewan. Strickland coming off. John Kinch goes in. No running room inside for John Kinch. He was piled up after an advance of about 1 by Brian Hedges. So it will be 2nd and 1. Our 2nd and 9, I should say, a pickup of about 1. The ball is at the 17-yard line. 5:24 is the time remaining in this opening quarter. Patterson throws complete to Wilder. Wilder at the 10-yard line. He was driven back. They're about 1.5 yards or 2 yards away from a first down. Well, in this situation, will Lancaster send in McAreedy, or will he gamble on 3rd down again? It appears as though McAreedy is going to go into the ball game and attempt 3 points from about 18 yards away.
From our ground level camera, Don, he's rolling right. They're coming with the 3-man line, dropping the 4 linebackers off. The receivers are all covered downfield, but Wilder comes back. But as an inexperienced receiver, he loses the area where he needs that first down. But that'll come. That'll come with him. That experience, he'll gain it. He's a good athlete. Ronnie believes in him. He's got to catch it, though, to get better.
Field goal by McAreedy is good. And with 4:42 remaining in the opening quarter, the Saskatchewan Roughriders lead the Ottawa Roughriders by a score of 3-0. Tomorrow afternoon, in what many people regard as a Grey Cup preview, the Edmonton Eskimos will play host to the Montreal Alouettes at Commonwealth Stadium, and our CBC television cameras will be there to provide live coverage of that one, so it's quite a football doubleheader on the CBC television network this holiday weekend. This afternoon here at Taylor Field, Saskatchewan and Ottawa, and tomorrow afternoon, Montreal and Edmonton. Say, that young fella's rather proficient. Is that what they call a wheelie? That Saskatchewan drive used up 7 minutes and 45 seconds on the scoreboard clock. Reminiscent of the days of old when the Roughriders, with Lancaster calling the plays and George Reed running the ball, used to grind out those precious seconds marching up and down the field.
I think that was their best drive of the whole season.
Al Chorney with the kickoff, not particularly deep. It's taken by Mofford at the 20. Mofford runs into a traffic jam at the 36-yard line. Brian O'Hara was the man who made the initial contact.
They're fired up, Don. They see that they've got now their strongest unit that they have all season right now. They say, look, we catch Ottawa flat a little bit. They surprised them with a 3-man line. They ran at them. They had long drive, almost 8 minutes. They come out here in the opening kick and the kickoff after the field goal. Good tackling downfield, good coverage. Now let's see what they can do on defense.
A 55-yard kickoff, a 17-yard run back. 1st and 10 for Ottawa. Inside with Richard Crump. He bounces off the initial tackle, tries to go wide, and then is spilled on the far side of the field by Jim Marshall. Marshall, number 22 for Saskatchewan, and number 21, Al Chorney, both going over to that side of the field. Marshall, a former member of the Roughriders, who signed as a free agent with the Toronto Argonauts and then was reacquired by Saskatchewan this week. As a matter of fact, 2 ex-Argos are now wearing Saskatchewan colors. Wayne Smith, who is playing a defensive end. Second and 9, Holloway throwing over the middle, and it's almost picked off. Bill Manchuk had it right in his hands. It was intended for Peter Stenerson, and Manchuk could not hang on.
from our end zone camera, they pick up the blocking. Excellent pass protection, but if you notice, Conridge threw that ball sidearm. It must have come up wet. The ball's wet in his hands. He has small hands anyway, and I know he has trouble throwing when that ball is wet. He released it sidearm, got away from it, and it was almost an interception.
Bill Manchuk, the veteran in terms of service with the Saskatchewan team, he's in his 9th year. Good third down punt by Jerry Organ. Chorney goes back to his own 20-yard line, and he gets no further than the 26. Knocked over by Rick Sovieta. 3:14 is the time remaining in the first quarter. Let's pause for this message.
Buick grabs hold of the 80s and challenges the middleweights with Century. A Century like never before. Plush, formal, contagious. Century's gonna get you. Buicks, built for a changing world.
There's a brand new way of doing things. The Buick's got the news.
Regal, trim, poised, standing apart, bursting with vitality. New times, new Buicks.
Crazy Glue for wood and leather will bond these two pieces of wood and form a trapeze bar. He applies the glue, presses the parts together, and the bond held. Crazy Glue for wood and leather makes fast, long-lasting bonds on wooden chairs, wooden boats, leather bags, and leather coats. Most anything made of wood and leather, this Crazy Glue can hold together. Get Crazy Glue for wood and leather, the repair kit that comes in a tube.
Crazy Glue for wood and leather, available everywhere you buy your regular instant Crazy Glue.
George Brancato, the head coach of the Ottawa Roughriders, he was obviously concerned coming in here playing the winless Saskatchewan team, and so far his concern would prove to be very valid. Huckleby inside to the 30-yard line. Mike Raines was there to make the tackle for Ottawa.
We need to practice.
Yep, they're on.
It's 2nd and 6 for the Riders. They are at their own 30-yard line. Patterson looking, throwing, good catch is made for a first down by Laurie Skolrud. From Taylor Field in Regina, a welcome to all the football fans across the country who have just joined our telecast. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders lead the Ottawa Roughriders 3-0 with 1:49 remaining in the opening quarter. A good drive by the Roughriders, stalled at the 11-yard line of Ottawa, and from that point, Bob McElready kicked a field goal, and that's been the only scoring so far in the ball game. But the Saskatchewan Roughriders are playing anything like a team with a record of 0-11. Mike Strickland, the ball carrier on that play. He picked up a couple of yards. It will be 2nd and 8. The ball is at the Roughrider. That's the Saskatchewan Roughrider 40-yard line. Ron Lancaster, somewhat optimistic last night, which was rather surprising in view of his team's 0-11 record. But so far, it would seem that his optimism was well-founded because his Saskatchewan team has played well in the early moments of this first quarter. Willie Wilder, a big catch. He breaks away. He's going to go. He's got that world-class sprinting speed. It's a Saskatchewan touchdown. Well, Ron Lancaster was saying last night, Willie Wilder can run. Now we have to teach him to catch. He learned in a very big hurry as Wilder makes the reception for a 70-yard Saskatchewan touchdown.
It's the same type of play that we had earlier in the game when it was thrown too high. He dropped the ball at that time. He comes down with it here, and he turns on the speed. Ronnie Lancaster has a converted running back on his hands, but an outstanding athlete that figures that the more he plays him, the more experience he's going to get, and he's got to help them. It was an outstanding catch and run.
6'1", 200 pounds, out of the University of Florida via Green Bay. Willie Wilder has moved Saskatchewan into a 9-0 first quarter lead. The point after attempt by McElready is good, and Saskatchewan leads 10-0 with 51 seconds remaining in this opening quarter. We take another look at the catch by Willie Wilder and the 70-yard Saskatchewan touchdown on our isolated camera.
Well, they're in that three-man line, dropping a four linebacker, so by the time you get behind the linebackers, there's a nice soft spot area in there, and he found it about 20 yards downfield. Poor tackling, and then the big score.
Willie Wilder certainly has quite an average per reception for Saskatchewan since being acquired a couple of weeks ago. 55.7 yards is the gain every time he catches the football. Well, George Brancato was concerned in preparing this week for Saskatchewan. He said you always have to be concerned going against a team that is 0-11, and it would certainly seem that Brancato had reason to be worried from what we've seen in this opening quarter. It's an inspired Saskatchewan ball club that took the field, and Al Chorney prepares to kick off. Ian Mofford takes the ball at his own 12-yard line. Mofford is brought down at the 30.
Well, another reminder of an impressive football display this weekend in Edmonton with the Alouettes and the Edmonton Eskimos. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll have it for you on CBC television from Commonwealth Stadium. Don alluded to it earlier, that it might well be the showdown that may happen a little later this November, but I think it's going to be quite a football game tomorrow in Edmonton.
First down situation at the 30-yard line. Conrad Holloway looking and throwing complete to Tony Gabriel at the 35-yard line, and the streak stretches now to 103 games for Gabriel, in which he has caught at least one pass.
Nothing fancy about this pattern. All he does is find out where that linebacker's going to play him. The moment he bumps him, he knows he's got him now to the outside because the wide receiver is driven off the cornerback, and they just dump it out there. They feel now, okay, let's take 7-8 at a crack and get some rhythm back on our side.
The ball is at the 38. It will be second and about 2 for Ottawa. Gabriel, the Shenley Award winner, is the top Canadian and outstanding player in the CFL a year ago. The pitch to Richard Crump. Crump is fighting for that first down. I don't know whether he's got it. His forward progress may have carried up to about the 38 before he was driven back by Joe Marino. This is an inspired Saskatchewan ball club. They have a number of new people in the lineup since we last saw them perform a few weeks back in Edmonton. On that occasion, the Roughriders were blowing right out of the ballpark in the very first quarter and lost by a score of 52-10. Well, that's the end of the first quarter, and Saskatchewan leads Ottawa by a score of 10-0.
Jennings, we're in the pink. Still fluffy. Good as new. Very good, sir. When I restored this house 20 years ago, I had bats and bats of fiberglass pink insulation put in, and it's still effective. People thought me a little strange then. Today, they just admire my foresight. Take my advice. When you insulate your home, do it right with fiberglass pink insulation. It never wears out.
When you take a quick look at what we do at Canadian Pacific, you may see a lot of people doing a lot of different jobs. But when you take a second look, it all comes down to two things: resource development and transportation. Transportation and resources. At Canadian Pacific, we think a quick look at what we do is fine, but we hope you'll think we're worth a second look, because we believe transportation and resources are important to every one of us. Today's Canadian Pacific.
Working for you in transportation?
And resources.
Some exciting games in the CFL this past week. We'll have highlights of all of those, and of course, first half highlights with Terry Evanson from Taylor Field.
Third down kick by Jerry Organ. The ball is fielded by Chorney. There's going to be a penalty flag. No yards will be charged against Rick Sovieta of the Roughriders. That was a 32-yard kick and a 5-yard return. Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have very much dominated the first 15 minutes and change in this ball game. And for many of the viewers across the country, that will come as quite a shock in view of Saskatchewan's 0-11 record. Time of possession in that first quarter, the Roughriders from Saskatchewan having a big edge thanks to an early drive in which they controlled the football for 7 minutes and 45 seconds. They marched down to the 11-yard line of Ottawa and were forced to settle for a field goal. Statistically, everything favors the Roughriders from the west so far this afternoon. The ball is at the 54 of Ottawa. Saskatchewan with a first down. The pitch a little slow. It's a reverse. They're trying to utilize Wilder's speed. An excellent defensive play there by the Ottawa Roughriders as Jim Piaskowski got through to make the tackle. They tried the reverse, and it produces a loss of 16 yards, thanks to an excellent defensive play by Jim Piaskowski, who made the tackle on Willie Wilder. It's a 2nd and 26 situation now for Saskatchewan back at the 40-yard line.
Well, they got out of that 3-man line. They weren't getting the rush on Patterson, so they went back to their 4-man alignment that they're best at.
I think the Roughriders are going to be charged with taking too long and putting the ball into play. And that's the signal from referee Neil Payne. The officials this afternoon, Neil Payne, the referee. The umpire is Jim Lysack. The head linesman is Gord Johnson. The line judge is Art McAvoy. The back judge is Bud Ulrich. And the field judge is Maury Mulhern. It's now 2nd and 31, Saskatchewan. They're back at their own 35-yard line. Patterson this time getting good protection, throwing deep, intended for Joey Walters. It's incomplete. Good defensive coverage there by Mike Nelms along with safety Robin Harbour. Joey Walters is back in the Saskatchewan lineup for the first time since early in July. He has had a leg problem throughout most of this season. Walters is playing a wide receiver position along with Willie Wilder, who electrified this crowd with a 70-yard touchdown in the first quarter.
Joey Walters here is running a post corner, but he's coming right into the zone defense. They were sitting in a 5 deep. Mike Nelms has got deep outside, and then he gets help from Robin Harbour. But Patterson had good protection. He rolled out. He didn't have the man in the flat. That whole defense fell off. If he brings the man in the flat, I think they're going to pick up big yardage.
Third down kick by McAreedy. It's taken by Nelms. Nelms spins off one tackle and then is bowled over at the 40-yard line. Camelo Carteri was the man who made the contact. A 43-yard kick, and for number 22, Mike Nelms, an 8-yard run back. Nelms having an outstanding defensive year for Ottawa. Unfortunately, so far, he has not been able to come to contract terms with Ottawa for 1979.
Well, I hope for him and the Ottawa team that he does, because I think he's one of the outstanding corners in the country.
1st and 10 for Ottawa. They're at their own 41. Conrad Holloway under pressure. He gets away from Wayne Smith. Throws the football. It's caught by Avery, but no question that Conrad Holloway had crossed the line of scrimmage before he threw the ball. Jeff Avery made the reception, but the quarterback, Conrad Holloway, was well in advance of the line of scrimmage, the 41-yard line, before he released the football.
Pass thrown from across the line of scrimmage.
There's the signal from referee Neil Payne. And watch Holloway now. You'll see him clearly ahead of that 41-yard line. Let's see, he's a couple of yards ahead of the 41-yard stripe before he threw it. It's a loss of down. It will be 2nd and 10 for Ottawa from the 41.
Wayne Smith's been a welcome addition on that particular play. He got great penetration. He's got experience. He's been around a long time. He adds some stability to that defensive line down.
Bruce Walker has replaced Stenerson. at a receiving position. Incomplete. The pass was intended for Calvin Prince. Mike Samples was applying some pressure on quarterback Conrad Holloway, and it will be 3rd and 10 for Ottawa.
I'm happy for Mike. Sorry, Don. I'm happy for him because they've been playing a 3-man line most of the season, and you know, you get double teamed, and by the 3rd quarter, you're pretty well tired out. And now with the addition of Wayne Smith, they've gone to the 4 down lineman with Joe Marino. It gives him a better chance, Mike Samples, to work some deals in there, get better penetration, because he's got excellent speed for a big man.
3rd down punt by Jerry Organ as he stands back at his own 25. It's 10-0 Saskatchewan leading Ottawa with 11:59 remaining in the first half. Frank Dark takes the ball at the 25. Dark is going back to the 20-yard line. There are also penalty flags on the play. That was a 39-yard kick and a loss of 4. However, there was an infraction on the play, and it would appear to be against Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Referee Neil Payne
Blocking
gives us
from the number 52 Saskatchewan
signal. So that moves the Saskatchewan club back to its own 10-yard line. 1st and 10 Saskatchewan back at their own 10. They lead by a score of 10-0.
Their initial plan when they started the game, Don, was to have a 3-man line, 4 linebackers, and blitz 2 of those linebackers. They didn't do it. Johnny got long drives. Let's see what they're going to do in this series of downs when they have them in their own end zone.
Patterson has had some success throwing the ball. Of course, the big gainer was that 70-yarder to Wilder. This is Strickland trying to go off tackle. He has about 2, perhaps 3. He was stopped by Mike Finucci. Ottawa started the ball game using a 3-4 defensive set with Finucci, Raines, and Hedges up front, and Glassford dropping into a linebacking position, joining Ron Fox, Ray Nettles, and Brad Carr. The secondary consists of Nelms and Sutton on the corners, Larry Brune and Peter Creppen inside, and Robin Harbour is playing the safety spot. They're trying to put some pressure on quarterback Lloyd Patterson. It's 2nd and 8 Saskatchewan. A draw play with Mike Strickland. Strickland has a hole. He has the 1st down, it would appear. Larry Brune made the tackle at about the 21-yard line. That should be almost enough.
From the end zone camera, Neil Quilter gets an excellent block on Mike Raines. Mike Strickland now is running a search play. He goes to the other side of the block is made, picks up excellent yardage.
Strickland has picked up 25 yards so far this afternoon. You talked about the block by Neil Quilter, and this is one player that Lancaster is really enthusiastic about when he speaks of the future of this Saskatchewan team. Quilter was the #1 draft choice of the BC Lions in 1978. He's a big fella, 6'2", 240, out of the University of British Columbia, and of course acquired by Saskatchewan and doing quite a job at that guard position. Harlan Huckleby runs it out to about the 28, tackled there by Larry Brune. 9:54 the time left in this 2nd quarter. 10-0 Saskatchewan leading Ottawa.
Don, talking about Neil Quinter, acquired from
Huckleby
Montreal.
made his CFL debut with the Saskatchewan Roughriders back on September 9th at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. A game that most of the Roughriders would just as soon forget after being blown right out of the park by the defending Grey Cup champions. A penalty flag on the play as Huckleby goes inside again looking for that 1st down. We'll be back to tell you about that infraction after we pause for this message.
At Canadian Pacific, we often think of ourselves as having 2 important activities. One, like this, is carrying things.
The other activity is producing essential basic resources, like forest products.
We carry people and produce steel. We carry things abroad.
And produce minerals at home and abroad.
We help carry information from one end of the country to the other and produce energy resources like petroleum and coal. When we've carried people somewhere, we cater to their needs in our hotels. We also produce places for people to live and work and shop. So you see, we have 2 important activities: carrying people, things, and information, and producing basic resources. When you put them both together, you have what Canadian Pacific is all about.
Today's Canadian Pacific.
Working for you in transportation and resources.
There's no doubt the Saskatchewan Roughriders, among the many injured players they had this year, missed that fella down on one knee, Roger Goree. And Goree is back at that outside linebacking position. They still don't have middle linebacker Cleveland Van back in the lineup. However, Keith Miller has moved inside for Saskatchewan, and while he lacks the experience of a Cleveland Van, he's a fine athlete, according to Coach Ron Lancaster, and is doing a most creditable job. The offside infraction moved Saskatchewan back. It will be 2nd and 8. The ball is at the 23. Patterson trying to set up a screen, and the pass is intercepted. It's picked off by Brad Carr. Panucci putting tremendous pressure on Patterson, and Patterson almost seemed to flip it up.
Well, they have a screen on right here. They're letting the line's letting the defensive line come in and the blitzing linebackers. But Brad Carr sits right in the middle. He's got his eyes on that quarterback, and that's a rookie mistake right there. When you got that tremendous pressure and you can't find the back, you have to eat the football.
It almost seemed as though the closest green and white jersey to that ball was center Bob Poley. So Brad Carr comes up with a big interception for Ottawa, and it's 1st and 10 for Ottawa. The ball is at the Saskatchewan 20. What could be a very key turnover for Ottawa early in this ball game. Conrad Holloway is going to be dumped back at the 25-yard line. Wayne Smith was the man who got through. And Holloway, of course, having faced Smith on numerous occasions when he wore the uniform of the Toronto Argonauts, is familiar with the abilities of this man. Smith playing only his 2nd game for Saskatchewan since being acquired from the Toronto Argonauts.
That pressure they're getting now from that 4-man line. Jeff Ravy was wide open in the end zone. Conrad just couldn't get the ball to him because of that pressure.
It's 2nd and 15 now for Ottawa. 8 minutes exactly remaining in this first half. Saskatchewan leading by a score of 10-0. Holloway is going to run it himself. He's down to the 15-yard line and is dumped at the 14-yard line by Ray Milo. Wayne Smith was the man who overran the Ottawa quarterback when Saskatchewan was trying to apply some pressure. And Holloway is rather slow leaving that field. He, of course, is playing with what they describe, I guess, as a flak jacket to protect those injured ribs. He's been playing with those injured ribs for some time, and he may have suffered some further aggravation and pain in running with that ball.
I'm for leaving the running to the running backs, because quarterbacks, you can't find them. Again, though, Jeff Ravy was wide open in the end zone. Conrad saw a hole in the middle. He tried to run, but he just couldn't look onto the outside. They had 6 points if he would have saw him.
They've got 3 points as the result of a Jerry Organ field goal, and the score is 10-3, Saskatchewan leading. We'll be back right after this.
At one time, the people who owned Canadian Pacific came from several other countries. And naturally, their interests were different from ours. But times have changed. And now we have a whole new ball game. Today, the majority of people who own our company are Canadians. Canadians like you and me. And today at Canadian Pacific, we know that's a winning combination. Today's Canadian Pacific.
Working for you in transportation and resources.
Well, wherever you're looking in this Thanksgiving weekend, we hope you're enjoying the action from Taylor Field in Regina. A CFL doubleheader on the CBC television network this weekend. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll be at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton for what many people regard as a preview to the 1979 Grey Cup game, a rematch of last year's Grey Cup participants, the Eskimos against the Montreal Alouettes. They'll have a full house at Commonwealth Stadium for that one, and we hope you'll join us tomorrow afternoon for our live television coverage. Here at Taylor Field, it's 10-3 for Saskatchewan, leading Ottawa as Ottawa kicks off with 7:22 remaining in this second quarter. Harlan Huckabee going down the sidelines. He is bounced out of bounds at the 43 of Saskatchewan. A disappointing crowd in attendance at Taylor Field. Henry Dorsch, the Saskatchewan general manager, last night was indicating that a crowd of 22 or perhaps 23,000 would be in attendance. However, I'm sure the rather dismal weather has had something to do with reducing the number of fans who opted to come out, along with Saskatchewan's record of 0-11.
I've seen packed houses here at 30 below zero.
Yes, those were in the glory days when Lancaster was throwing and George Reed was running. Here's Mike Strickland running, but not very far. As a matter of fact, he's dropped for a loss back at the 40-yard line by Mike Finucci. Yes, you recall playing here when the wind was blowing at about 30 miles an hour. The wind chill temperature in a November playoff game had to be about -25.
Oh, and more. And you used to have to wear skates because the field was just strictly ice.
I remember Jim Duncan's great line that afternoon when he came out of the dressing room and he said, "I told the guys the last 12 out have to start." Sideline pass for Strickland. Strickland is caught and dropped back at the 43-yard line by Ray Nettles, the middle linebacker. So Saskatchewan will be forced to kick it away. The Roughriders were able to generate a fair bit of offense in the first quarter, but in this second quarter, they've had difficulties against this Ottawa team, a team that still has designs on finishing in first place in the Eastern Conference. Of course, much will depend on what happens here this afternoon as far as they are concerned, and what the Montreal Alouettes do tomorrow afternoon in Edmonton.
360. Ready.
McAreedy back at his own 30-yard line for this third down kick. It's taken by Mike Nelms. Nelms gets one block. He finds a hole and a good run back as he continues to struggle up to the 53-yard line. Bill Manchuk was the man who finally made the tackle with 5:47 remaining in this first half. A 26-yard run back after a 40-yard kick by Bob McAreedy.
He's an excellent punt return. He excites me as a professional because he never gives up. He's always trying. He's a big hitter on defense. And on those punt returns, you've got to tackle him 2 and 3 guys because he's not going to let up.
Conrad Holloway, despite being shaken up on Ottawa's last offensive series, continuing to direct the attack. Holloway tried to dump it off, trying to set up Prince with the screen pass. It's incomplete. It will be 2nd and 10. Wayne Smith and Doug McIver were both pressuring the Ottawa quarterback. Well, it's World Series time. Baltimore and Pittsburgh. John Wells, tell us all about it.
Well, it starts on Tuesday, Don. As you know, CBC Television will carry every pitch of the 1979 baseball championship. Pittsburgh Pirates and the Baltimore Orioles starting on Tuesday night, so check your local listings for times in your area. Good series.
John, I kind of like Pittsburgh. What about you?
Well, I'll take Baltimore just to be a little different.
All right. You'll have to decide on our wager after this afternoon's game. Pass intended for Bruce Walker. It's off his fingertips. He was open down at the 35-yard line. So it will be 3rd and 10 Ottawa. You can't fault Holloway in that one. He delivered the ball, and the receiver, Bruce Walker, had difficulties hanging on.
There's no doubt they're not sharp this afternoon. I was talking to a lot of the players last evening, and they were concerned about a team 0-11, not knowing what to expect from them when they come out. The addition of some of those veterans, settling down some of those guys, they were very apprehensive about this game.
10-3 is the score. Saskatchewan leading Ottawa. Third down kick by Jerry Organ. Chorney is going back to his own 15-yard line. A penalty flag goes down. I think blocking from the rear or below the waist will be charged against Saskatchewan. Chorney had a run back of only a couple of yards, but there is an infraction on the play. There's the signal from referee Neil Payne, and that forces Saskatchewan back to its own 9-yard line.
It's been that kind of year for Saskatchewan, Don. They've had 68 players.
In the second quarter, this has been the problem for Saskatchewan, Terry. They've been back deep in their own territory. They really haven't had a great deal of room in which to operate.
I think they were surprised to see Ottawa on a 3-man line. As soon as they moved the ball, Ottawa then switched in the second quarter to a 4-man line. They haven't been able to move the ball since.
Patterson Gets away from the initial charge. He runs the ball out to about the 14-yard line. Panucci almost had Patterson trapped back at the goal line, and Patterson very alertly was able to dodge his charge and get away. He picked up a couple of yards. Well, make it about 4.
They're testing him. They want to see how much heat he can take, Don. How long will he stay in the kitchen in there? And if he starts to run, they feel they got the ball hawks in the defensive backfield that he'll put the ball up for grabs.
It's 2nd and 6 for Saskatchewan. 3:51 is the time remaining in this first half. Patterson throwing deep, intended for Stallrood, well over his head, and it will be 3rd and 6 for Saskatchewan. Laurie Stallrood, coming out of his slot back position, was open going down those sidelines. However, he was overthrown by quarterback Lloyd Patterson. Stallrood, of course, started this season with the Hamilton Tiger Cats and was picked up as part of the Tom Clements deal that saw Clements go to Hamilton. In addition to our telecast from Edmonton tomorrow, featuring Montreal and Edmonton, 2 other games in the CFL. Calgary is in Winnipeg, and Toronto is at Hamilton. Third down kick by McAreedy. It's taken by Richard Crump. And Crump runs it back to the 39. There's also a penalty flag on the play. Richard Crump, who started his CFL career after coming out of northeastern Oklahoma with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He was traded to the Calgary Stampeders, subsequently switched to the Ottawa Roughriders. We have a timeout with 3:11 remaining in the first half.
At Canadian Pacific, we think of ourselves in 2 different ways. First, we think of ourselves as people getting needed goods from one place to another, in Canada and around the world. And we're people getting you from where you are to someplace else and looking after you along the way. And we're people getting necessary information from where it is to where it's needed. In other words, at Canadian Pacific, we are people in the transportation business. And the second way we think of ourselves is as people filling basic needs, like steel making, or forest products, or oil and gas, or minerals, or shelter. In other words, we're people developing basic resources. And that's the 2 ways we think of ourselves at Canadian Pacific: transportation and resources.
But when you think twice about it, those 2 words say a lot.
Today's Canadian Pacific.
Working for you in transportation
and resources.
A blocking from the rear infraction moves the Ottawa Roughriders back to the midfield stripe. It's 1st and 10 for the team from the Eastern Conference. Richard Crump running inside, finds some room for a gain of about 6 before he's driven back at the Saskatchewan 49. "10-3 is the score in favor of Saskatchewan over Ottawa. They position the ball at the 48-yard line.
It's hard to believe how much it's cost the Roughriders.
2nd and just over 3.
Don, I'm sorry, it's hard to believe how much it must have cost the Roughriders this season. They've had 68 players in their active roster so far in 1979. 124 football players have gone through the Saskatchewan program since training camp. A lot of ball players.
Well, there was some problem in that Ottawa offensive unit that produced an infraction for taking too long in putting the ball into play. And John Wells, I must apologize. We've had some audio difficulties, and I've been speaking over many of the comments you've been making from the sidelines, and I hope we can rectify the communication problems that we have had from time to time during the course of this afternoon.
Let's go, take it back now.
So it's 3rd down, Ottawa. Jerry Organ goes back to his own 45-yard line. 2:34 is the time left in this first half. 10-3 Saskatchewan leading An electrifying 70-yard touchdown run on a pass from Lloyd Patterson to Willie Wilder, the difference in the ball game. Al Chorney is brought down at the 15-yard line by Larry Brune. That was a 33-yard kick. No opportunity for a run back.
Sorry, baby. Take it straight up.
The ball is now at the 16. That's the spot they position it. 1st and 10, Saskatchewan. Willie Wilder goes wide left. Joey Walters splits to the right. Nelms running downfield may have just deflected the ball. Walters had maneuvered in behind the Ottawa defensive back, and that would have been a big play for Saskatchewan had Walters been able to hang on. Let's take another look at it.
Well, we're taking the tail end of it here. Mike puts his arms inside, but Joey's been off for a while, and that's just a matter of timing and concentration. Important thing, though, is that Patterson had a lot of time to throw the ball, and he did throw that ball late because Joey had him beat by a good 15 yards early in the pattern.
Mike Nelms, number 22, has had a big season for Ottawa. He leads the team in interceptions with 5. Second and 10, Saskatchewan. Patterson getting good protection again. He's got a lot of time. He may decide to run it now. Heading for the sidelines. He runs it out of bounds. It's a first down. There's also a penalty flag. As a matter of fact, there are flags all over the place on the far side of the field. The infraction, however, appeared to take place after the first down was picked up.
Their offensive line of Saskatchewan is giving Patterson excellent protection. However, the defensive backfield of Ottawa is covering the receivers like a blanket. There's not a single person open on that field. Patterson did the best thing possible. They try to pick up the necessary first yardage outside. Then we got the clipping penalty.
The infraction was against Joey Walters, who hit Larry Brune from behind.
Here, we can take a look at it here. Joey's putting his hands up. Larry Brune's right behind him, though. Patterson sees him, then that's a silly penalty because he's already picked up the first down.
Obviously, the officials do not agree that Patterson had picked up the first down before the infraction took place because they are moving Saskatchewan back to the 8-yard line, and it will be 2nd and 17.
4 yards or game.
2:06 is the time left in this first half. Pass over the middle intended for Walters. It's incomplete. Patterson was throwing into traffic as Mike Nelms was covering, coming over from the sidelines. As a matter of fact, there were 3 people who had moved from outside positions into the middle of the field to cover the intended receiver, Joey Walters.
Joey's running a good post pattern here. It looks like he's open. Now you can't see the safety coming into play. Patterson again releases the ball too late. Ronnie Lancaster feels that he's got as strong as arm in the CFL, but he does release the ball too late.
Third down kick by McAreedy. Nelms goes back to his own 50-yard line and runs it back to the Saskatchewan 53 before he is taken out of bounds. Brian O'Hara was the man who made the initial contact with Mike Nelms. That was a 50-yard kick and a 6-yard return. 1:51 is the time left in the first half. At halftime, highlights of CFL action during the past week, and Terry Evanson will be along with the highlights of this afternoon's ball game. And the big play so far has been that 70-yard pass and run, Lloyd Patterson to Willie Wilder, and that's the difference in the ball game as Saskatchewan leads Ottawa. Avery goes wide to the right. Martin Cox is split left. Ottawa first down. They're at the Saskatchewan 53. The pass intended for Walker. He can't hang on. The ball at the 32-yard line. Jim Marshall was the man covering Bruce Walker. Walker was not listed as a starter for Ottawa, but he has replaced Peter Stenerson at that wingback position. It will be 2nd and 10 for Ottawa. Jim Marshall and Wayne Smith, as we've mentioned earlier in this telecast, 2 recent additions to Saskatchewan from the Toronto Argonauts. On 2nd and 10, Holloway is in trouble again. He loses control of the football. It's loose. They rule that he had thrown the ball before it was popped up in the air when Doug McIver made the contact with the Ottawa quarterback.
That Saskatchewan defensive line is fired up. There's no doubt that the addition of Marino and Wayne Smith has added stability to that defensive line. Holloway's hurt.
This time he appears to be favoring his hand from the end zone. Let's take another look at that play.
He gets initial time. He's got 1,003, 1,004. Defensive backs have the people covered downfield. Here comes McIver out of nowhere and really lowers the lumber to him.
Well, they rule an incomplete pass. On 3rd down, the punt by Jerry Organ, taken by Al Chorney, and Chorney is stopped at the 25-yard line. That was a 32-yard punt and a 4-yard run back. That Saskatchewan defensive unit, as Terry pointed out, certainly seems to be inspired by the presence of Moreno and Smith at those 2 defensive end positions. Holloway at that Ottawa bench, obviously not as comfortable as he would like to be. Little swing pass to Strickland, and Strickland running back into the middle finds some blocking assistance for a big gain to the 47-yard line. Quarterback Lloyd Patterson just flipped it over the head of Jim Piaskowski, and Strickland converted it into a 22-yard gain.
But we got a double team in the middle on Mike Raines. He's got all he does is this little swing pass outside. They hook the linebacker inside Brad Carr. Strickland cuts back into the middle. Another. Nettles makes a fine recovery here on Strickland.
1st and 10 for Saskatchewan. Patterson is taken out of bounds by Brad Carr at the Ottawa bench. He'll lose some on the attempted pass. 59 seconds the time left.
Show some maturity.
Patterson earlier in the year, Terry, I think had a tendency to throw it away in those situations, but on this particular play, he hung on to the ball and went out of bounds. He absorbed the loss. He took his lumps.
I'm sure he's learning from one of the masters in Ronnie Lancaster. Only get rid of the ball in an emergency. You never know. You can pick up 5, 6, 7 yards at a crack when you're running the football, and you're not putting that ball up for grabs.
2nd and 15. Patterson throwing deep, intended for Wilder. He's got he couldn't hang on. Wilder was in the clear, and he had that one. As Lancaster said, the man can fly. We have to teach him to catch.
He's laughing. He puts the ball right on the money. Look at that pass protection. He's got 1,006 in there. Wilder, with his blazing speed, just gets behind Nelms and Broom. Puts the ball right there. That's a running back, though. He has it there. He was looking at that goal line. Good. We got him an ISO here. Nothing pretty about the pattern. As a matter of fact, he looks too early. Nelms is right on his back. But now you notice he's pulling away from him. He's got that excellent speed. Reaches out, but he's looking straight ahead if you can see closely there. He had his eye on the goal line.
Good kick by McAready. Crump goes all the way back to his own 10-yard line. And then Crump is taken out of bounds at the 25. 39 seconds the time left in the first half. And Saskatchewan could have had a big play there had Willie Wilder been able to hang on to the ball. A 16-yard run back by Richard Crump after a 58-yard boot by Bob McAready. And Conrad Holloway remains at the Ottawa bench as Jimmy Jones comes in to direct the attack. In obvious pain, the Ottawa quarterback who started the game, Conrad Holloway. Calvin Prince. A gain of about 2 yards. It will be 2nd and 8. Doug McIver making the tackle.
I think Ottawa is going to be very happy to go to the dressing room down only by 7. The way they've played and the inspired play of Saskatchewan, they've got to regroup their forces inside if they feel that they can continue on and chase Montreal for that first spot.
Jones, of course, came off the bench a couple of weeks ago to lead Ottawa to a late surge that carried them to a 22-19 victory over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Jones throws complete to Martin Cox, and Cox is bowled over at the 36-yard line, but he appears to have the first down. Doug McIver is one of the people there, in on the stop with help from middle linebacker Keith Miller. 15 seconds, the time remaining in this first half.
Martin Cox, a welcome addition to that Ottawa team. Here he runs just a curl pattern. Good point here, though. He comes back to the play, comes back a good 5 yards, sits down in the soft spot, pays the price for catching the football, but he's been an excellent addition to that Ottawa team.
This should be the final play of the half. There's that swing pass to Richard Crump. Crump still on the go and is finally stopped at the 50-yard line. That will be a first down, but the Ottawa Roughriders appear to have run out of time. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders received quite a reception from the fans at Taylor Field as they head to the dressing room after 30 minutes of play with a 10-3 lead over the Ottawa Roughriders. Saskatchewan looking for win number 1 in 1979 after 11 consecutive losses, but they came into this game quietly confident about what they might be able to do against Ottawa, and so far it would seem they were justified in thinking along those lines, because they have played well during the first 30 minutes and are certainly full marks for their 10-3 advantage. As a matter of fact, had Willie Wilder been able to hang on to that pass late in the first half, they would go to the dressing room with an even bigger advantage. A CFL doubleheader this weekend on CBC television this afternoon. This telecast originating at Taylor Field in Regina, and tomorrow afternoon will be at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton as the Edmonton Eskimos, the first-place team in the Western Conference, entertains the first-place team from the Eastern Conference, the Montreal Alouettes. A replay perhaps of the 1978 Grey Cup, and perhaps even a preview of what we'll see on November 25th at the Olympic Stadium in Montreal in the 1979 Grey Cup game. All right, let's go down to field level now, and John Wells.
A standing ovation for the Roughriders after the first half here as they lead Ottawa by a count of 10-3, and certainly something to be pleased about as far as Saskatchewan football fans are concerned. Bill Manchuk joins me. Bill's been around the team for a while through the good years, and then again a little bit of a tough time right now.
A little bit of both. It's been a long season, but we've committed ourselves to trying to make this team a competitive team, and I think we're finally getting the people to do the job. I just hope that we don't run into any more injuries, and I think we've got a pretty good team.
Sounds to me like the fans are still right behind you. They don't seem to be too down on the fact that your record is what it is today.
Well, they're down and up, and they've been behind us. Our attendance isn't as good as they'd like it to have been this year, but they come out to see us, and I think they're enjoying the game today.
What changed things around as far as this game is concerned? Because that's likely the best half that Saskatchewan has put together this season.
Well, we've played some pretty good football games in the past, off and on. We've played some pretty poor ones, but I've said all along that we have not a bad team, and it's just a matter of putting the people in the right places, and Ronnie's working real hard with us, and the other coaching staff have never let down on us, and the only thing that we have to do is just keep our spirits up, and hopefully we're going to come out a winner.
What about your own personal feelings, Bill? You've been with the winning team and the losing team. It must be a little tough.
It was tough this year since we hadn't won a game, because when you start winning a few football games, it makes it a lot easier to play. But I'm glad to be part of this team. I'm a Saskatchewan Rough Rider from way back. I guess I'm the oldest player on the team now, which they are sort of riding me a little bit. But I feel good, and I feel healthy, and I feel strong. So as long as I continue to feel that way, I think I'll continue to play.
Obviously, there's happiness. I see it on the bench today.
Oh yes. Everybody's behind everybody else. I hope we can keep up the score. It's 10-3 now, and I hope maybe we can add a couple more touchdowns. This is the first time we've generated some points in the first half in a long time.
Bill, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Good luck to you guys. I know there's a lot of Saskatchewan fans right across the nation cheering for you. Thank you. Okay, the score at halftime. Saskatchewan Roughriders lead the Ottawa Roughriders 10-3, and we'll be back with more halftime in just a moment.
In February of 1966, Sony introduced the world's first color video recorder for home use. Now, Sony introduces the latest. The new Sony Betamax SL5400 with the unique Betascan, remote control fast forward and reverse that lets you see the picture as it goes. It also gives you 4.5-hour recording, express tuning, and a 3-day one-event timer. See Sony Betamax, the latest color home video recorder at your Sony dealer today.
TV Records fires up a charge of hits in an explosive new album, Hit Action, featuring Toto, Eddie Money, but maybe I'm a fool, Ian Thomas, but time is the keeper, plus Touche's latest hit. Take a look, and touch. Hit Action on record, cassette, or 8-track, available at leading retail outlets.
Buick LeSabre cuts loose into the 80s. Reduced in weight, space efficient, and aerodynamically designed. Buick LeSabre, built for a changing world.
There's a brand new way of doing things, and Buick's got the new.
Take hold of LeSabre now, because full size never felt so good. New times, new Buicks.
And now CFL highlights, a recap of the Canadian Football League in action, featuring reports of this week's games and news for and about the CFL. CFL highlights. The Hamilton Tiger Cats were in Toronto for their biggest game of the season. And the Tiger Cats did apply some first quarter pressure to Tony Adams. But Adams rolled right to elude and fired for Paul Pearson and a 13-yard gain. 2 plays after that, Mark Bragignola got the call. Bragignola right over the top for the touchdown, and the Argos move out in front 7-0. Hamilton picked up a single, and then Tom Clements looked upfield for Craig Levitt. The pass was hauled in by Mike Kramer instead, and Kramer rambled 34 yards for the touchdown. The Argos out in front 14-1. Then an Andrusician picked up 8 points in the second quarter, and Ian Sutter added 2 in the fourth to make it 16-9 for the Tiger Cats as Clements, with just 1 minute left, hit John Holland down the center for a 44-yard gain. Holland hauled down right at the 1-yard line. 2 plays later, Clements dropped back and found Leif Pedersen. Pedersen made the catch in the end zone for a 6-yard touchdown, and the Argos led it 16-15. The Tiger Cats, not about to settle for a tie, went for the 2-point conversion. Pedersen made the catch. The Tiger Cats 17-16 winners over Toronto. Ray Yawk took the Bombers to British Columbia for the 3rd meeting between those two teams this season. The Lions took an early 7-0 lead. Joe Paupau fired for Harry Hope. The reception at the 7 and an 18-yard touchdown, the result. However, the Bombers came right back with Billy Troop. Lots of time for Troop as he fires 53 yards for Walt Bisaglia. That set up a 22-yard Bernie Ruoff field goal. The Bombers trailed 7-3. Then Devon Ford fumbled Bernie Ruoff's kickoff. And Leo Ezrin was the man on the spot for Winnipeg to make the recovery. Another Ruoff field goal was the result, and the score 7-6 BC. A third Ruoff field goal gave the Bombers a 9-7 lead as Lou Bisaglia punted to Mike Holmes. Holmes mishandled the punt, and Mark Houghton was there to recover for the Lions. The Lions finally pushed it into the end zone for a 14-12 halftime lead. Then early in the third quarter, Joe Paupau struck again with a 42-yard pass. Leon Bright on the receiving end. Bright somehow avoided Bomber tacklers for extra yardage down to the 30. 3 plays later, Larry Key took a pitch to the right and went in from the 3. The Lions led it 21-12. Much happiness in Vancouver. The Lions' running game looked to be in good shape, too. John Henry White broke 1 tackle. and had 21 yards up the middle, but fumbled. Again, Leo Ezerin's recovering for Winnipeg. Billy Troop taking quick advantage, found Mike Holmes down the middle, and a 44-yard gain. On the next play, Larry Washington took the handoff and burst up the middle. 18 yards for a touchdown. The two-point conversion failed. The Bombers lost to the BC Lions 22-21. Halftime continues from Regina in just a moment. We'll have highlights of Montreal and Ottawa and Calgary and Edmonton. Ottawa hosted Montreal in a key battle in Eastern Canada. The Riders led 1-0 early in the second quarter. Conrad Holloway rolled left and fired to Martin Cox in the end zone, a 22-yard touchdown. 8-0 Riders. 90 seconds later, Joe Barnes dropped back with great protection and fired deep to Keith Baker. Baker, a 72-yard pass and run touchdown for the Alouettes' first major. 8-7 Ottawa. After a series of first downs, Barnes struck again. This time rolled right and found John O'Leary. O'Leary took it in for a 4-yard touchdown.
Montreal out in front, 14-8. But the Roughriders came right back.
As Conrad Holloway rolled left and then turned to fire to Richard Crump. Crump on the right side galloped 31 yards all the way down to the Montreal 40.
2 plays after that,
Holloway rolled to the left again and used a similar combination, but this time he lateraled to Crump, and Crump goes in for a 14-yard touchdown. Joe Barnes was eager to get the Alouettes back into the game and fired quickly for Dallariva, but the newcomer John Sutton intercepted and returned the ball 43 yards. O'Leary was called for piling on. Then on the next play, Holloway rolling left again and looked for Tony Gabriel. Gabriel alone in the end zone for a 3-yard touchdown. Montreal trailed by 8 at the 9-minute mark of the third quarter as Jerry Organ punted and Dickie Harris waited at his 5-yard line. And watch Harris go.
He read the blocks beautifully and raced
109 yards for a Montreal touchdown. Harris's run brought the Alouettes within 1 point of the Ottawa Roughriders in a thrill-packed game at Lansdowne Park. Don Sweet added a single in the third quarter, and then it was tied. Richard Crump restored the Ottawa lead with a 14-yard touchdown at the 6:30 mark of the fourth.
But with just under 2 minutes remaining,
Joe Barnes finds Keith Baker on the right side. The gain is 38 yards. And Baker gets all the way down to the Ottawa Roughrider 45. 2 plays later, the same
combination is good
for a 31-yard touchdown, which tied the teams after one of the most entertaining games of the year. The final, Ottawa 29 and Montreal 29. Stampeder fans were hoping that Calgary could finally upset the Edmonton Eskimos. A wide field goal by Dave Cutler in the second quarter when Johnson found Willie Burden over the center for a 33-yard touchdown.
and Calgary out in front. But Warren Moon went to Smith shortly after that.
And a
10-yard pass on 22nd.
Ken Johnson for Willie Armstead.
Set up a Calgary
field goal and left the Eskimos ahead 11-10 at the end of 3. A McTagg single tied the score early in the fourth, and Johnson of Calgary a 7-yard touchdown for Tom Perzani. But the Eskimos came right back on the arm of Warren Moon for John Konahowski, and 54 yards down to the Calgary 15. 2 plays after that, Warren Moon found Brian Kelly alone in the end zone and a 4-yard touchdown. A 2-point conversion to the same player gave Edmonton a 19-18 lead with less than 3 minutes remaining. Calgary did get a big break as Larry Highbaugh fumbled a Mike McTagg punt, and the Stampeders recovered inside the Eskimo 30. Then with 1 minute 5 seconds on the clock, Willie Burden went over for the touchdown from a couple of yards out, and the Eskimos suffered their first loss of the season, 26-19 to the Calgary Stampeders. Halftime in Regina continues in a moment. We'll be back with Terry Evanson and first half highlights.
Introducing the amazing automatic Nikon EM, the camera that warns you when your exposure's not right. The EM actually lets out a gentle beep beep. That beep beep tells you to make a simple adjustment for a great picture every time.
The fantastic Nikon EM? The camera that goes...
You mean beep beep?
That's what I said.
It took the Royal Bank to bring a girl and her horse together. Today, Don Hood is competing thanks to Hilda Smith of the Royal Bank in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Hilda approved a loan for Don to buy the horse, and later a horse trailer and a truck. Success can't always be measured by material gains. To Don, it's a piece of colored ribbon. And that's fine by us, because however you define success, when you succeed, we succeed.
I think a lot of people may have felt that George Brancato was setting up a smokescreen when he said he was concerned about playing Saskatchewan. But from what we saw in the first 30 minutes, his concern was well-founded.
There's no doubt about it. We said it at the top of the show that sometimes you take an opponent too lightly, 0-11, but there are guys out there. They brought some veterans in. They displayed courage and tenacity, and they brought some of these young guys together, and they really surprised Ottawa. I think on their opening play, the quarterback Lloyd Patterson displays composure, I think, under extreme pressure, an attribute that wasn't there earlier in the season. And you'll see here, we've got a good slow-mo, but he's getting good pressure here. Now he starts to move around. He's got his eyes downfield. He's trying to find somebody. He goes to his left, starts back to his right again, all the time keeping his eyes downfield on. What happens? He finds Mike Strickland sitting out there by himself. Mike picks up an important first down. This leading to their opening field goal of the game.
And during this particular drive, they controlled the football for 7 minutes and 45 seconds. They came away with just 3 points. But then it was quarterback Lloyd Patterson hitting the speed merchant Willie Wilder for the Saskatchewan touchdown.
That was an electrifying touchdown. Poor tackling here by Harbour. He pulls away. He's a running back, a converted running back to wide receiver. Lancaster feels that he's an excellent prospect, and that's why they didn't cut him when he was dropping a lot of footballs earlier in the season, and he's showing true today for him. Later on, we come back, and this typifies the type of play that Regina's had this afternoon. You'll notice all they're going to attempt here is a middle screen. He gets the pressure, but then all of a sudden, he displays here a rookie, an infallibility where he releases the ball too early. Brad Carr is sitting in there. He's reading the quarterback's eyes. An important interception for Ottawa.
However, the best the Rough Riders could do was a Jerry Organ field goal. And then we see the Rough Riders with a big play from Patterson to Strickland, and they just flipped the ball over Jim Piaskowski, who was charging from his defensive end position, and Strickland converted it into a 22-yard gain. And the Rough Riders could have gone to the dressing room, that's the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, with an even bigger advantage had this man, Willie Wilder, been able to hang on to this pass.
Well, he's got that excellent speed. He runs by Mike Nelms. The ball was put up there for grabs. But again, he showed that thing that Ronnie Lancaster said. He doesn't have the soft hands yet, but how can he develop? And he's got to catch the ball. He's got to drop some. The only way he can get better is through experience.
Well, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders lead 10-3. We'll be back with the second half in just a moment.
The 1980 Buick Skylark has moves like you've never seen before. Front-wheel drive and refined interiors that turn heads as quickly as corners. Skylark, built for a changing world.
There's a brand new way of doing things, and Buick's got the news.
Don't hold back. Grab yourself a fistful of the newest excitement in town, the 1980 Skylark.
Hey, come here. Take a look at this. See? Wow! The new McCulloch chainsaws. This is the new Power Mac 320. Look at these teeth. They can sharpen themselves with the press of this button. Wow! And see this? Is that a tail? No, it's a handle mounted to soak up vibration. What's this? McCulloch's chain brake handguard for safety. That's smart. No other saw at any price has all those features.
The new 300 series, part of the full new line of McCulloch home and professional chainsaws. At your McCulloch dealer now.
It's special.
That looks really nice and cool.
It's special. Tastes the best special.
Looks refreshing. I can tell you, it's got a Labatt's taste.
Yeah.
And it's a real Canadian taste.
Has it got body?
That's it. It's got body.
It's special. Tastes the best special.
And yet it has less than 99 calories in a bottle.
It's special. Tastes the best special.
He lectured his troops during the break between the first and the second halves here at Taylor Field, and let's see if the Ottawa Roughriders picked up the message. In the first 30 minutes, it was a definite Saskatchewan ball game, with the Western Riders having an edge on the scoreboard in first downs. They were equal in rushing, but Saskatchewan had an advantage through the air. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders certainly had the ball for much longer than Ottawa in the first 30 minutes. 10-3 is the score, with just over 19,000 fans in attendance at Taylor Field. McAreedy, an 18-yard field goal. Willie Wilder, a 70-yard touchdown run. And then a Jerry Organ field goal, accounting for all the scoring in the first half. Organ kicking off to start the second half.
Go!
Huckabee decides to go outside. Down the sidelines, he is taken out of bounds at the 42-yard line. A good run back by Harlan Huckabee, and the Riders have pretty good field position in which to start this second half. A 23-yard return by Huckabee after a 47-yard kickoff. Again, we remind you that tomorrow afternoon we'll be at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton as the Eskimos, the leaders in the West, face Montreal Alouettes, the leaders in the Eastern Conference. That game will be seen on the full CBC television network. Alan Huckabee has a gain of about 4 yards. John Glassford is the man who made the tackle. Let's set up that Saskatchewan offensive unit for you again. Bob Foley is the center. Neil Quilter and Roger Aldag are the guards. Joe Miller and Curtis West are the tackles. The receivers, Joey Walters, Willie Wilder, Laurie Skolroot, and Jerry Fellner. Harlan Huckabee and Mike Strickland, the running backs. And the quarterback is Lloyd Patterson. Danny Sanders staying loose at the Saskatchewan bench, but the way Lloyd Patterson has performed so far in this game, it would appear doubtful as if he'll get in. Pass thrown down the sidelines, but I think that the quarterback stepped out of bounds before he released the ball, and that was back at about the 40-yard line. That seems to be the spot that referee Neil Payne has marked the play. At any rate, it is a third down situation for Saskatchewan. And Ron Lancaster sends in his punting unit. Lancaster still enthusiastic despite the fact that his team is 0-11, and he says his players are also still playing with a lot of enthusiasm, and they certainly were during the first half.
He's got to stick with the people he has today, and maybe he makes a change tomorrow, but these are the people who are playing for him today.
Nelms fielding McAreedy's third down kick, going down the sidelines. Brian O'Hara was the man who upset him at the 41-yard line. They'll rule that he finally touched down at about the 44. A 14-yard return for Mike Nelms after a 40-yard kick by Bob McAreedy. Well, if you can't read it, we'll read it for you. See our green machine, regainer our pride as they turn the tide of our season. Doesn't really sound like poetry that's all that good, but the fans here in Saskatchewan are enthusiastic nonetheless. Sideline pattern to Cox, and Cox has a first down as he gets up to the 48-yard line.
That was a dangerous pass. He threw that ball a good 50 yards just for a 5-yard gain, and he just made that pass. Frank Dark went up a little bit too early. Here we're taking another look at it. All he did, 5-yard. Frank was right in front of him. Went up a little too early, though. That was 6 points the other way. A very bad percentage pass in that particular end of the field.
The ball is at the 52 of Saskatchewan. Jimmy Jones, the quarterback for Ottawa in this second half. He has replaced the injured Condrech Holloway. Calvin Prince running into a traffic jam as he tried to go wide. Wayne Smith was there to greet him, and Smith had some help from Mike Samples. That front four for Saskatchewan has been putting a lot of pressure on the Ottawa quarterbacks, whether it was Condrech Holloway who started, or in this case, Jimmy Jones. And they have also been limiting the Ottawa running game. Prince and Richard Crump have not been able to pick up much yardage. Richard Crump takes the throw, and he's bounced out of bounds by Al Chorney, but he is stopped short of a first down. Crump playing his second game as a running back for Ottawa since being acquired from the Calgary Stampeders, and of course his big game a week ago against Montreal, where he ran for 97 yards.
Heads up, Milo! Heads up!
Third down kick by Jerry Organ. It will be fielded by Chorney at the 5, and Chorney gets out to the 10-yard stripe before Rick Silvietta brought him down. We have a timeout with 11:29 remaining in the third quarter. Saskatchewan leads Ottawa 10-3.
If your engine isn't starting on cue, put in a fresh set of Champion spark plugs at least once a year. Champion and your engine can make beautiful music together. Get started with Champion.
The Canadian Rockies. We brought the Chevy Citation here to demonstrate its capability in the face of challenge. With rack and pinion steering, McPherson strut suspension, front-wheel drive, and a comfortable seating capacity for 5, the Chevy Citation brings a whole new dimension to economy. Experience the 1980 Chevy Citation yourself, because you've got to drive it to believe it.
At General Motors, we're committed to leadership in fuel efficiency.
Don Whitman, along with Terry Evanson and John Wells at Taylor Field in Regina, as Saskatchewan scrimmages 1st and 10 from their own 10-yard line. Mike Strickland gets out to the 12 and not much further. Ron Fox came in from his linebacking position. Now, Ottawa started the game using a 3-4 defensive set. They've been alternating things a little from time to time, and right now they appear to be in a 4-3 with Finucci, Raines, Hedges, and Piaskowski up front. Fox, Nettles, and Carr as the linebackers. Nelms and Sutton are on the corners. Brune and Kreppen inside, and Robin Harbour is the safety. Second down pass. They rule that Brian O'Hara made the catch at the 20-yard line. Will it be close enough for a first down?
We got an excellent shot of it from our end zone camera. Brian O'Hara acts just like a second baseman here, just snags that ball right off the ground. He had his hand on the ground. It was an excellent catch. Good call by the referee.
It's close enough to require a measurement, and it could be decision time for Ron Lancaster.
Third down.
It's going to be third and just inches. Well, the Riders from Saskatchewan are going to gamble on this third down play. Manchuk and Marino go into the ball game. O'Hara comes out. Joey Walters also comes out. Third and just a couple of inches for Saskatchewan. That Ottawa defensive line is really stacked in there. Patterson keeps. He may be just across the 20. He only had to advance it a couple of inches, and it appears as though he has done that. It is a first down, Saskatchewan, as the Western Riders keep the drive alive. 9:50 the time remaining in this third quarter, and Saskatchewan clinging to a 10-3 lead.
Don, they've changed their defense again. They've gone to a 4-4. They've taken out Robin Harper, and they brought in John Glassford. They feel like maybe, okay, their corners can play their outside receivers man-on-man, and they're going to try to cover the interior of that zone with the 4 linebackers.
107.
Well, Ottawa, during the course of this ball game, has continually tried to give Saskatchewan a different look defensively. Patterson couldn't find a receiver, and he's brought down at the 20-yard line. No gain on the play as Jim Piaskowski made the tackle.
Young quarterback, put a lot of heat on him. Don't give him time to try to find that secondary receiver. They have one inexperienced receiver in Willie Wilder. He maybe cannot find that open zone, so they man up on him on the outside, put a lot of pressure by the 4 linebackers, blitz 2 of them with the 4 rushing down linemen.
Second and 10, Wilder's wide right. Joey Walters splits to the left. Here's that pressure, and Patterson goes down back at the 10-yard line. Brad Carr is one of the people who has a grasp on the Saskatchewan quarterback, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders will be forced to kick it away. So Ottawa, in the next offensive series, will have good field position. Good play by Brad Carr, who is back in the Ottawa lineup after missing 5 games as the result of an injury.
They blitzed their 2 interior linebackers that time because they feel that, listen, they scared us in that first half. We can't give them that chance to possibly hurt us in this next quarter.
160. Ready.
Baccariti's third down kick. No run back opportunity as it sails out of bounds. And where will they mark it? I think it is right at the 53-yard line. Good kick by Bob Baccariti, 45 yards, and no run back opportunity for Ottawa. Well, Gaynor the Gopher, the Saskatchewan mascot, hasn't lost any enthusiasm despite the problems that the Saskatchewan Football Club has suffered through this season. Richard Crump trying to go inside, and he runs into a wall. There were 4 Saskatchewan players there to greet him and drive him back. Doug McIver, one of them. It's interesting, that front 4 of Saskatchewan, 2 members of the Toronto Argonaut front 4 from a year ago.
Exactly. And Doug McIver is really having a fine game this afternoon.
Jones flipping it up for Tony Gabriel. Wide open is Gabriel, and he carries all the way down to the 11-yard line. Well, I guess it was just a matter of time before the big fella got himself into the clear. We'll be back after we pause for this time up.
This is the product of a successful Canadian off-highway vehicle business. With the financial help of EDC, the Canadian government-owned Export Development Corporation, this company developed an export market. EDC has been financing and insuring Canadian exports for over 30 years. The result of this export deal, more jobs here in Canada. Over 200 of the suppliers also benefited. A success story EDC is proud to be a part of.
A 44-yard gain on that pass from Jones to Tony Gabriel, and it's a 1st and 10 situation for Ottawa. The ball is at the Saskatchewan 11, the deepest penetration Ottawa has made so far in the ball game. Jones throwing for Gabriel just off his fingertips. You know, when we talk about Tony Gabriel, there are occasions, I'm sure, where he just heads for the open spot. He breaks off his usual pattern and the pattern he was supposed to run on the play.
Well, he's the only receiver I know of in the Canadian Football League that has the right to run a particular pattern, and if it shuts down, now to go to try to find an open spot. And the quarterback knows that Tony's going to go and try to find that spot on the field. He has the talent to do it.
2nd and 10, Ottawa. Jones is going to run the ball. He'll score. Jimmy Jones with a touchdown, and now only 1 point separates Ottawa from Saskatchewan.
Well, Jimmy Jones, we've always known to be a good scrambler. He's got his eyes downfield. Excellent coverage by the defensive backs. He sees an opening, and he takes off. He has excellent speed for a quarterback. Ducks his head, crosses the goal line.
And the Ottawa Roughriders have an opportunity to tie it with this convert attempt by Jerry Organ. We've got a tie ball game with 6:35 remaining to be played in quarter number 3. Jimmy Jones putting together the touchdown drive for Ottawa. The big play, a 44-yard pitch to Tony Gabriel, and then he ran it in from 11 yards out on 2nd down.
Here we take another look at it. You can see Tony was covered in the corner. He looked over that way. He saw the area open quickly, and he took off. This is the one time I think that has a big advantage when you have a running quarterback or a scrambling quarterback. If he sees that linebacker take off, then he's going to find. He knows there's a spot area that's open, and he's going to find it.
Jerry Organ preparing to kick off for the Ottawa Roughriders. Organ, after a year out of the game, back in the uniform for Ottawa this year, and he's doing quite a job. There's the short kick. I think that, no, they rule that Saskatchewan touched the ball. The Ottawa Roughriders seem to feel that they were the last to touch the ball, but the Saskatchewan player got in there to deflect it out of bounds, and I think it was Laurie Skolrud, and if you're trying to kick it over his head, you've got a rather imposing target. He's 6'5", 240 pounds.
Well, next weekend on Sports Weekend, 3 great horse races. The Coronation Stakes, the Stampede Futurity, and the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. So join Ernie Affiganis and Michael McGee for racing at its best on Sports Weekend.
Patterson on 1st down, throwing in. Joey Walters was in the clear. The ball just seemed to bounce right off the numbers. Walters is injured on the play. He was hit by Sutton as he went up for the ball. There really didn't seem to be any need for him to go up to catch that ball, Terry. Although I suppose he was trying to protect it.
Well, he's trying to protect himself, too. You know, he's been out most of the season. John Sutton backed out of there because they were in the 4-4. He's got deep outside. But he doesn't have to go up for the ball like that. He knows that he's got to keep his body in front of it. But when you jump prematurely like that, that ball hit him right in the shoulder. He lost his concentration, and in turn got hit in the ribs and got himself hurt again.
Well, Walters last year was hurt early in the year and missed most of the season. He was hurt early in the year again in this 1979 campaign. This is his first game back since early in July. And he requires some assistance in heading to the Saskatchewan bench again, although it appears that as though he will be able to return. Mark McDonald goes into the ball game in place of Joey Walters. McDonald, a much-traveled footballer who has played with quite a number of teams in the CFL. Is he challenging your record yet, Terry?
Aha! Was he entertaining him, though? That's the important factor.
Patterson decides to run it. He's got some room, and he'll have the first down. Well, it looks as though he has a first down from our vantage point upstairs, and they now rule that he does have enough yardage to move the sticks just shy of the Ottawa 50-yard line. Floyd Patterson getting some last-minute instructions from the bench before moving out onto the playing field to call this first down play. The score is tied at 10 with 5:41 remaining in the third quarter. Saskatchewan had a 10-0 first quarter lead. Patterson throwing intended for Wilder. It's incomplete. He was being covered by Peter Stenerson. Patterson has showed some poise this afternoon, and he has certainly displayed a rifle for an arm. He's been firing that ball. Sometimes his receivers haven't been catching it the way he would like them to.
No, they haven't. And here, Wilder runs kind of lazy post line. Now he's open early, and it's something we talked about earlier, that the quarterback, Patterson, is releasing the ball too late. He has his men open. Now he's making it a tough catch when he does get the ball there.
On second down, Patterson stepping up into the pocket. He's hit from behind. Jim Piaskowski was the man who got him for a loss of about 7 yards.
I'm sure that 4-4 defense has really crossed him up. They're dropping off 8 men now into those defensive zones, and he can't find anybody. He's a young quarterback. He just sees blurred vision out there. You know, there's talk about him possibly needing glasses anyway. I know this is a little inside joke, but when they drop 8 men off there, it's very difficult if you don't have experienced receivers coming back to the quarterback out of those deep hook zones. They don't have those type of receivers, therefore he gets sacked. Give that line just that extra second to get to him.
McAreedy's third down kick. Nelms takes it back at the 8-yard line, and Nelms runs it back to about the 14. Roger Goree was the man who made the initial contact. A 49-yard kick and a 10-yard return by Mike Nelms.
Nelms has made quite a difference to that Ottawa ball club since he arrived on. He's had excellent punt returns most of the way, hasn't he?
He certainly has, John. And John, I might also add, it's nice to hear you again during the course of this ball game. As I pointed out earlier, we had some communication problems earlier in the first half. Draw play with Prince. His advance is restricted to about 4 yards. Doug McIver made the stop from his defensive tackle position with help from middle linebacker Keith Miller. Joey Walters trying to stretch those muscles at the Saskatchewan bench. It would appear as though he'll be able to get back into the ball game at a wide receiver position. Draw play again, this time with Richard Crump, and Crump is going to be stopped short at the first down. He got to the 25-yard line and then was driven back. 3:39 is the time remaining in the third quarter. It's a tie ball game. Saskatchewan 10, Ottawa 10. Trainer Sandy Archer doing some work on a leg muscle at the Saskatchewan bench. What a year the veteran Saskatchewan trainer has had. I think right now they still have 13 players on the injured list. Chorney takes the ball at his own 50-yard line, puts his head down and drives up very close to midfield. Stopped there by Rick Sovieta. 3:16 is the time remaining in the third quarter. We'll be back with Saskatchewan's first down play right after this.
Come on, Guy. Let me show you some driving tricks.
In my Monte Carlo?
Sure. Hey, you know, this isn't bad. Comes with turbo, too.
I know.
Look how she's taking this corner.
I know.
Hey, I guess there is more to Guy Lafleur than just hockey sticks.
Hey, you got a pair of skates?
Touché.
At General Motors, we're committed to leadership in fuel efficiency.
First and 10, Saskatchewan. The Riders are scrimmaging from their own 54. The give is to Mike Strickland, and Brad Carr from his linebacking position came through, and he dropped the Saskatchewan running back for a loss. Ottawa certainly mixing up its defense in this second half after encountering some problems in the first 30 minutes.
Well, with that 4-4, they can stunt their linebackers in many different formations, and it really confuses the blocking of that offensive line. They don't know exactly who to block. Sometimes we're seeing Brad Carr make an excellent tackle there because Roger Alday came out and tried to hook the defensive end, and he just shot the gap and made the tackle.
Brian O'Hara has replaced Laurie Stallroot at slot back for Saskatchewan on 2nd and 11. Is completed to Joey Walters for a big first down at the 39. Well, Walters, after missing a couple earlier in the ball game, comes back with a key reception for Saskatchewan, a gain of 18.
Joey Walters, he's a fine receiver. Listen, he's been hurt all year, and he's got to get back into getting some action in-game play. He dropped an important pass for them. Another look at it from our end zone camera. He's just running a drag-in pattern. Patterson's got his eye on him all the way, reaches in front of the safety and makes an excellent catch.
Certainly makes amends for a couple of passes he dropped earlier. Trying to swing it out to Harlan Huckabee. It goes incomplete. John Glassford was over covering the intended receiver, and quarterback Lloyd Patterson was also under some pressure. .133 is the time left in the third quarter. It will be 2nd and 10 Saskatchewan. The ball is at the 39.
That week off has made quite a difference to Saskatchewan, fellas, I'd say, for the fact that they've had a chance to get a lot of the players that have been coming into camp weekly into a lineup, and they're a lot more poised football team today.
That seemed to be the feeling last night of Ron Lancaster. The pass intended for Jerry Fellner. He was being shadowed over there by Peter Stenerson. Patterson overthrew the intended target.
Don, he's waiting for the receiver to get open instead of anticipating that he will be there. Ottawa came with the safety blitz. Excellent pass protection from the offensive line, but he's holding that ball too long. He's holding that ball at least 2 seconds too long and not dropping it down in the areas where the receiver is there.
Patterson will hold as McAreedy tries for 3 from 47 yards out. The kick is wide, and Nelms is going to get it out of the end zone. As a matter of fact, he makes an excellent run back, still struggling, and at the 10-yard line, he's finally stopped by Al Chorney. So with 48 seconds remaining on the clock in this third quarter, the score remains deadlocked at 10.
Ronnie's showing a little disgust on his face because he knows they're the type of pass plays that got to work. They're the easy ones for you. You must complete those if you're going to make the big play. If you don't get those, then it's just a grab bag affair after, and you're wishing and hoping. And you can't beat the experienced teams that way.
Ball is positioned at the 11. Jimmy Jones replacing the injured Condredge Holloway at quarterback. Gives it straight ahead to Calvin Prince. He spins to the 15-yard stripe. A gain of 4. It will be 2nd and 6. The Riders have made a lot of changes in their defensive lineup, and Ottawa has had, as we mentioned earlier, a number of different people at running back positions during the course of this 1979 season. Had Mike Murphy out for quite a spell. They figure that he should be ready to return in about another week. On 2nd and 6, Jones stumbled trying to get out of there. He still gets the pass away, and Ross Clarkson came back to help out a quarterback in trouble, and the broken play may produce a first down. Doug McIver was really in quickly. Ross Clarkson came back to take the throw from Jimmy Jones. I think it will be enough for a first down, and that is also the end of the 3rd quarter. Let's pause for this message.
Experience High Energy, a super new album featuring Orleans, Toto, Little River Band, and Super Stinks. Dr. Hook, Gino Vanelli, and the Rays. High Energy, a super new album from K-Tel. It's in stores now.
The wind that's sweeping low, skim the surface, rest below, swing around, back you go, make a pass, make it last, almost time to let go, take the time to share with friends, take a while, share a smile, 'cause when you're smiling, just keep on smiling. Blue smiles along with you when you can. Take a time when you can. Blue will smile with you. Smile along when you can. Take the time when you can. Blue will smile with you.
Joe Marino shaken up on that last play. The 6'6", 245-pound defensive end was in pursuing the quarterback, and Jimmy Jones was able to throw to Ross Clarkson. Marino must go out for at least one play. He's being replaced by Brian Illebrun, but I'm certain that he'll get back into the lineup. Richard Truck takes the pitch on first down and runs out to the 27-yard line. You see Marino now coming back onto the field, and Illebrun will head for the Saskatchewan bench.
Don, that was an excellent curl pattern by Ross Clarkson. He bumped off of Frank Dark, came back, saw Jimmy Jones in trouble, and kept coming back to the quarterback, giving him the target, and they picked up an important first down. That was an excellent play by Ross.
Second and 5 for Ottawa. Jones in trouble. He gets the pass away, and it is Bruce Walker who makes the catch, fumbles the ball. Saskatchewan has recovered. Keith Miller, the middle linebacker, very alertly scooping up the ball after it squirted away from Bruce Walker.
They're running a sprint out to the left. He's getting big pressure by Keith Baker, the middle linebacker. Comes back, Walker makes an excellent catch, and then gets stuck really hard by Ray Marlowe.
What could be a key turnover. It's 1st and 10 Saskatchewan at the 44 of Ottawa. Huckabee going inside, fighting his way down to the 36. He had to work for most of that all by himself, and he continued to struggle down to the 36 of Ottawa. A gain of 8, it will be 2nd and 2. O'Hara comes in. Jerry Fellner goes out. Lancaster helping his quarterback, Lloyd Patterson. Score is tied at 10, 13:05 the time remaining. Going inside with Huckabee again for a first down. Hedges was the man who finally grabbed the Saskatchewan running back, but it is a Saskatchewan first down at the Ottawa 30. Again, the juggling continues. O'Hara goes out. Jerry Fellner comes in. And obviously, the Saskatchewan coaching staff is sending in plays through the wingbacks. Huckabee spins off the first defensive charge. However, Piaskowski and Carr were there, and they drove him back. He got to the line of scrimmage, not much further. Lancaster again talking to Brian O'Hara. He'll be sending him in, and this time Laurie Skolrud comes out.
Maybe we'll see some of that old Ron Lancaster flair here. A little bit of motion, send those safeties, those slot backs up through the safeties, go on top.
Wilder goes wide right. Joey Walters splits to the left. Saskatchewan is going to be charged with a time clock violation. Too long in putting the ball into play.
Saskatchewan. Geez, there's no excuse for that, Don. He's even bringing the play in. The play could be called in 5 seconds. I'm sure they're breaking down in the huddle. That's the third time this game now that they've done that, and at crucial situations. You can't let that happen. I can see Ronnie just pulling his hair out on the sideline down there.
Not quite, but he's close.
Well, whatever play Patterson had been instructed to call, the Riders appear to be sticking with it. The pass to Huckabee. Huckabee is caught by Carr and taken out of bounds at the 31. So the Riders are forced into a third down situation, which will undoubtedly produce another field goal attempt by Bob McAreedy. 11:31 is the time left in the game. The score is tied at 10. Saskatchewan into a 10-0 first quarter lead. Ottawa got a field goal in the second quarter, and in the third quarter, the Riders scored a touchdown. Jimmy Jones running 11 yards. It was converted by Jerry Organ. And now McAreedy will try for 3 from 38 yards out. He has the length. It is good. And Saskatchewan now leads Ottawa by 3. 11:16 is the time left in this ball game. After losing 11 in a row, Saskatchewan looking for its first win of 1979. Jimmy Jones directing the attack for Ottawa, scrimmaging 1st and 10 from the 35. Good fake inside, setting up the screen to Prince. Good play on the sidelines by Ray Milo. He fended off the block and brought down Prince, but Prince had a gain of 7 before being stopped. However, had that block on Milo been successful, Prince may have gone much further.
Excellent open field tackle by Milo. Jim Cood at 6'6", 260 in his face. He sheds off the block and makes a excellent play.
Second and 3, Ottawa. Richard Trump is the first down, out across the 45. Doug McIver was there to halt his progress. We also have a timeout with 10:14 remaining in the ball game.
Planet Earth stretches 25,000 miles at its midsection. Giant oceans separate vast land masses. Rugged mountain barriers reach beyond the clouds. Yet here is a world of 4 billion people who move from city to city faster than the wind. Boeing is pleased to play a role in making this world just a little smaller.
The world feels a whole lot better when the people of the world all get together. The world feels a whole lot better such a big world. See! All the places and the faces. Feel! All the loving and the laughter. Bring us together. And you'll see the world feels a whole lot better when the people of the world all get together.
Boeing jetliners have done more to jet the world together than anything ever made by man.
The world feels a whole lot better when we all get together.
1st and 10, Ottawa. The ball at the Ottawa 46. It's complete to Walker. It's another Ottawa first down as he takes it out of bounds at the Saskatchewan 54. Jimmy Jones doing a good job in directing the attack for Ottawa after replacing the injured Condredge Holloway. He did quite a job a few weeks back for the Roughriders against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Jones has only missed on one pass attempt so far this afternoon. Whoa, good reaction there by McIver. He wasn't fooled at all by that fake pitch. He stayed right at home and belted Richard Crump, the ball carrier.
Doug McIver's been an excellent football game this afternoon. But it's just a fake pitch, false trap here. You can see the guard pulling out. Val Belcher. Doug sits right inside there. He's not fooled by it at all, and lowers the boom. Excellent play by Doug McIver.
It's 2nd and 10 for Ottawa. Pressure on Jones. He gets away. Initially throws incomplete. Intended for Cox. Wayne Smith came bursting through, and Jones stepped away from him. It was amazing that he was able to get that pass away.
I think he's very fortunate he ducked.
Yes.
I saw that all hook come in there. That's the best pass rush the Saskatchewan team has had all season long. And it's because of the addition of those veterans in there now. They've added that, just that little bit of confidence. And what a change in the football team.
Horgan is back at his own 41. This third down kick, well, it looked as though he was going to throw the ball. Then he finally did kick it. It's taken by Chorney back at his own 4. And he is going to be driven back even further, but his forward progress was at the 4-yard line. Rick Sovieta was the man who made the tackle. A 49-yard kick by Jerry Organ. For a moment, Terry, it looked as though Organ was going to throw the ball on 3rd down.
Well, he's been known. He has an open contract to run or kick the football. If he sees an opening, away he goes. It was like Ken Clark in Hamilton. He had this knack to see if they weren't rushing those outside men, he'd hold off for an extra second. As soon as they turned to form the wall on the outside, he'd take off and pick up some very important first downs for Hamilton.
8:46 is the time left. It's 1st and 10 Saskatchewan. They are at their own 4-yard line. Huckabee out to the 7-yard stripe. Brian Hedges was in on the stop, along with Panucci.
They can't get too fancy down here. They don't want to turn the football over right now. They're ahead by 3 points. This is where we're going to see what kind of quality this Patterson has. Ronnie sent a play in from the sidelines. They can't get fancy right now. They got to be careful. No fumbles, no turnovers.
O'Hara comes in to replace Stallrood. The messenger service from the Saskatchewan bench. Good protection for Patterson to the sidelines, off the fingertips of O'Hara. O'Hara was being covered by Ron Fox, the linebacker. And Saskatchewan will be forced to kick on 3rd down. So Ottawa will get the ball back in excellent field position.
You can't fault Patterson on plays like that. These receivers, listen, you guys, you got to come up with the ball. You know, if he puts the ball there to be caught, you got to come up with it. He's had 3-4 balls dropped on him this afternoon in crucial situation. Here's another one. He ran a good out pattern. He had the man beat. It's on his fingertips. He's got to come up with it.
McAreedy stands in the end zone. Nelms takes it at the 42. The blocking wall forms, and then Nelms runs into some problems. He gets it back to the 30-yard line. That's where Ottawa will scrimmage when we return.
These happy people had the foresight to buy GM's Continuous Protection Plan option. Most mechanical or electrical repairs their new vehicles may need for 3 years or 60,000 kilometers will cost them at the most $25 per occasion. Fred does a lot of driving, so he increased his protection to 80,000 kilometers for a couple of dollars more a month. So talk to your GM dealer about the details of the Continuous Protection Plan. Do what Bob and Marge and Fred and Alice did, and relax.
The Roughriders from Saskatchewan leading by 3, but they are in danger of seeing that lead disappear with 7:22 remaining in this ball game. It's 1st and 10, Ottawa at the Saskatchewan 29. The pitch to Richard Crump. Crump picked up a couple of yards, not much more. There was a lot of blocking help over there, but McIver came over, Miller, the middle linebacker, came over, and Wayne Smith was also there, along with Al Chorney. They were able to break it up.
Don, I want to go back and play the drop pass by Brian O'Hara. Instead of having first down on the 22-yard line, still controlling the football, they got a bad kick. Ottawa takes the ball over now on their 29-yard line and first down. Big turnover.
2nd and 8 for Ottawa. Draw play with Prince. He fights to the 20-yard line, and then it's picked up by Walker as the ball is fumbled. And they're ruling an Ottawa touchdown. The ball was fumbled, and Walker alertly scooped it up and ran it in for a touchdown. It appeared as though Prince was stopped short of the first down. Let's take another look at this one.
Oh, look at it myself. First, it looks like they had him stopped with a 4-yard, 5-yard gain. The ball gets popped loose there. Emil Nielsen popped it loose. Bruce Walker's right on Johnny on the spot, picks it up for a big touchdown. There's that drop pass. Now all of a sudden you're behind by 4.
What an alert play by Bruce Walker, and what a good bounce as he was able to scoop up that ball and continue moving towards the goal line. And now with the point after by Jerry Organ, Ottawa is in front for the first time this afternoon by a score of 17-13. 6:29 is the time left in this ball game. The Ottawa Roughriders in the Eastern Conference standings, 12 points, 5 behind the leading Montreal Alouettes. And of course, Ron Lancaster's Saskatchewan Roughriders are still looking for their first victory of 79. A dejected Saskatchewan coach pacing back and forth at the Rough Rider bench.
He's livid right now. Now, he knows mistakes like that are going to lose your ball games against teams, experienced teams. And it's that type of play that you've got to complete if you're going to win. You can't win with that type of play.
A kickoff by Jerry Organ. Harlan Huckabee starting out from about the 3-yard line. Huckabee slipped and fell as he attempted to make the cut. And the Riders will scrimmage inside their own 20. That was a 63-yard kickoff and a 16-yard run back by that man, Harlan Huckabee. The ball is positioned at the 18-yard line. 6:25 is the time left. The Ottawa Roughriders leading in front for the first time this afternoon, 17-13. Draw play with Mike Strickland, and Strickland is upset at the 22-yard line. Tim Berryman was the man who got a hand on the Saskatchewan running back.
3 new Canadian cities will be part of the National Hockey League this coming season. Hockey Night in Canada returns to CBC television next Saturday, October the 13th. So check your local listings for the game and time in your area. A lot of excitement about the NHL in lots of areas this year.
Yes, it will certainly be an interesting National Hockey League season with the addition of the Winnipeg Jets, the Edmonton Oilers, the Hartford Whalers, and the Quebec Nordiques to the NHL. Patterson in difficulty. He's sacked for a loss back at the 14-yard line. Jim Piaskowski was the man who broke through on the Rough Rider quarterback.
Keep your eye here on Tim Berryman, number 41. This is one of the positive aspects of a 4-4 defense. He can blitz, he can stunt with that 4-down lineman, and he can pick the avenue that's open. Puts enough pressure on the quarterback, Patterson, to give you enough time for Piaskowski now to pick up and throw him for a sack.
Once again, Ottawa will get the ball back in good field position as McAreedy is kicking from the goal line. Oh, that one was almost blocked. Ron Fox almost got through on the Saskatchewan punter. Nelms was caught by Roger Goree and dropped back at the 49-yard line. Ron Fox came very close to blocking that one. That was only a 38-yard kick and a 3-yard return.
Well, from our ground level camera here, we're going to see how close Ron Fox comes inside. Mike Broom picks up the inside block by the back, leaving a good avenue for Fox, but he came a little bit too wide. If he came inside another foot or so, he would have had his hand on that ball.
On first down, Calvin Prince is stopped at the 45. 4:36 the time remaining as the seconds tick away. The Ottawa Rough Riders in front by 4 in no rush to put the ball in play. They want to use up just as much time as possible on every down. Second and 7 from the 45. Jones on the option. He's got Clarkson wide open, and it's an Ottawa touchdown. However, there is a penalty flag.
Was he across the line again, Don?
Back at the line of scrimmage. I'm not sure whether they're ruling he was across the line of scrimmage before throwing or not, but it appears as though they're bringing it back.
Going forward pass, passer across the line of scrimmage.
That's the call by referee Neil Payne. What a break for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Let's take another look at it.
It was a break for Saskatchewan, but what an excellent call. They brought all the people down the line of scrimmage. Jimmy Jones looked like he was going to start running outside, but it was a planned play because Clarkson ran a hook and go. The back froze, and he just slid in behind him. I couldn't tell from that replay how close he was to that line, though, Don, but what an excellent call from the bench.
He was over.
The line of scrimmage was the 45-yard line, and it appeared as though he was over. That's the second time that Ottawa quarterbacks have been called this afternoon for throwing in advance of the line of scrimmage. Third down kick by Jerry Organ. It's taken by Dark. And Dark is stopped at the 17-yard line by Tim Berryman. 3:40 the time remaining in the ball game. 17-13, Ottawa leading Saskatchewan. A play that could have put it away for Ottawa, called back by the infraction, and Saskatchewan still has a chance.
Riders have a new quarterback in there, at least the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Danny Saunders is going to try, number 13. Just warmed up on the sidelines. He's from Carson Newman University, and I haven't heard of that one. He's 6'4", 203.
Danny Sanders directing the attack now for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, throwing incomplete. Nowhere near being catchable for Laurie Stallrud as the ball almost appeared to be right at his feet.
There we had different ends of the spectrum. Danny threw the ball real too quickly, while Patterson's been throwing the ball late. He threw it on his back foot. He was dropping back. He wasn't even 5 yards into his drop zone when he let that ball release, and Laurie wasn't even into his pattern yet.
In describing Sanders last night, Ron Lancaster said he has what he refers to as a live arm. Joey Walters for a first down at the 35. We have a timeout with 3:02 remaining in the ball game. We'll be back right after this.
If you want a small color TV set with a really great picture, express tuning, and ultra-modern styling, then buy a Sony Trinitron. If you want a medium-sized color TV with the same great picture plus infrared remote control, then there's a Sony Trinitron for you too. If you want a really big color TV with all the features imaginable, you can now buy a big 28-inch Sony Trinitron. No matter what you want, there's a Sony Trinitron for you.
Watch me slide, watch me glide, watch the show. Here I go, wet and wild, catch my style. Watch the show. Here I go, take a while, share a smile. Time now, keep on smiling. Woo, smiling always. Smile with blue.
Well, Danny Sanders certainly rifled that last pass into the arms of Joey Walters. It's 1st and 10 Saskatchewan. They're at their own 35. They trail by 4. Sanders is going to run it. There's also a penalty flag in the play. Sanders struggles all the way out to the 49-yard line, but it may all go for naught as there was a penalty flag back at the 25. It's going to be brought back. Holding the infraction, Curtis Wester was grabbing Jim Piaskowski, according to our isolated camera director, Dr. Ken Nielsen. Sanders, in the description of Ron Lancaster, has a very quick release. He has that quick wrist. He doesn't have a big windup when he throws the ball. We view again that infraction, and you see Wester tackling Jim Piaskowski as Piaskowski was coming in on quarterback Sanders. No question about that infraction. And there's no question that Sanders is going to go down for a big loss back at the 16-yard line. John Glassford came through, and the Roughriders from Saskatchewan now face a 2nd and 20 situation.
Put the heat on them. They come in with their both inside linebackers, 6-men rush. You got to get to him because he's in now. He's cold off the bench. Doesn't know his receivers that well. Really doesn't have a good feel for the game. And we get the sack. Very important.
Roger Aldag, the injured Saskatchewan player, he'll be replaced at guard by Tim Hook. Make it 2nd and 28. The 10-yard penalty for the holding infraction, now the 8-yard loss.
I think they remember last week against Montreal when they controlled the game for about 59 minutes. In that last minute of the game, they went into a prevent defense, and Montreal moved for a 102-yard touchdown. And talking to the guys last night, they said, if it comes down to it this time, we're not going into that prevent. We're coming with everybody.
2:30 the time remaining. 2nd and 28, Saskatchewan. Sanders throwing it up. It's picked off by Fox, and that should be the ball game. They rule that Fox went down in one knee, and quite correctly, at the 40-yard line. Joey Walters was the man who made the tackle. Sanders on this particular pass just seemed to flip it up there for grabs.
Well, they're coming with a very strong pass. He steps back up in the pocket when I think he should have stayed back there because he came into the flow. Nobody really was open. Wilder was there, but he was covered. 4 men in the area. He threw the ball up for grabs.
2:18 the time left. 1st and 10 Ottawa. The ball at the Saskatchewan 40. Richard Crump taking the pitch and doing a fine job of picking up 7, perhaps 8 yards before being corralled by Wayne Smith. Well, there was certainly hope as far as Saskatchewan fans were concerned in the first half that perhaps the losing string would come to an end this afternoon. But it looks very much as though that string is going to stretch through an even dozen games now as the Ottawa Roughriders lead 17-13. 2:04 is the time left, but most importantly, Ottawa has the football at the Saskatchewan, well, down now to the 26-yard line as Prince picks up the first down. 1:55, the time remaining in the game. Jimmy Jones coming off the bench for Ottawa, replacing Condredge Holloway, who incurred further damage perhaps to the rib injury he suffered quite a while back. Richard Crump dropped for a loss back at the 30. 1:40 is the time left. Wayne Smith and Doug McIver both broke through on the Ottawa running back. Mike Samples also helped stack things up. It will be second and 12. 1:31, and the seconds are ticking away. Martin Cox goes wide left. The pitch to Richard Crump. Crump trying to get outside. He does, and then goes out of bounds at the 22. Well, with 1:18 remaining, I'm sure the Ottawa Roughriders, yes, they opt for the field goal unit. But the Saskatchewan Roughriders will get the ball back with still time remaining. Danny Sanders. Oregon's field goal try from 29 yards out. The kick is up. It is good. And it's now Ottawa 20, Saskatchewan 13. 1:15 is the time left. Saskatchewan will scrimmage first and 10 from the 35. Sanders continuing to direct the attack. Oregon has accounted for 10 of Ottawa's points this afternoon. No, make that 11 of Ottawa's points. Off the hands of Joey Walters.
Joey's having a tough time this afternoon. He seems to be trailing the ball too much. He's not putting his hands out there to catch the football. Don't let it hit your body if you don't have to. The only time you bring it into your body is when you're protecting it. Reach out there and get the football. That ball hit him right in the elbow. Plays like that, Jimmy, he's got to come up with the catch. I mean, they're easy. That's pitch and catch. Can't make them. You can't make the big one.
1:09 is the time left. Second down, Saskatchewan. They are at their own 35. Sanders throwing incomplete. Intended, it would appear, for Jerry Fellner. It's 3rd and 10 now for Saskatchewan. 1:03 is the time left. Let's re-examine our mathematics and only give Jerry Oregon 8 points this afternoon. We finally got it straight.
Mo Simovich, you on the ball over there? Okay.
Well, this could be the ball game right here on 3rd down. The pass is complete to Willie Wilder. He makes the catch at the 49 for a first down. There is still hope for Saskatchewan. A key 3rd down pass from Danny Sanders to Willie Wilder. Sideline pattern, and Joey Walters takes it out of bounds. That'll be another Saskatchewan first down at the 47.
Now, they told me last night they weren't going to play that prevent defense. They are. They're gunning for the prevent, and they're giving that 15-yard out pattern. It only takes a couple to get downfield.
46 seconds still remain. The ball is at the 45 of Ottawa.
And that's a defense I still don't understand after 15 years of playing. If you shut somebody down for, again, 59 minutes of the game, why do you go into that defense and give them a chance? You got to keep them down when they're down.
Throwing to Wilder. Wilder makes the catch. Wilder's still struggling. He's down to the 28-yard line with 35 seconds remaining. Larry Bruin finally made the tackle. Wilder, of course, a man they have to be very, very concerned about because he has that tremendous speed. Danny Sanders may just emerge as a Saskatchewan hero. Walters is wide open. Walters on the sidelines. He's going to score. 21 seconds remaining, and Joey Walters has moved Saskatchewan within a point of tying this ball game.
From the GOAT to the hero, you never say die. They're in the prevent defense. The out pattern is going to be there. The 15-yard out. And if he slips at all, which he did do, it ends up in a touchdown.
Well, it's going to be a two-point conversion attempt. Let's take another look at the pattern that Walters runs.
Well, it's there because the quarterback is playing 20 yards deep. He doesn't have to because he shut him down the whole game. He's just giving a wide open area to catch the football. And because of the turf, the way it is, it's wet out there. One little fake down, he falls down, and then we got a touchdown.
So, here it is, a two-point conversion try for Saskatchewan. Sanders throwing into the end zone. Who's got the ball? No, it's intercepted by Mike Nelms, and the score holds 20-19.
Well, Mike Nelms talked about what an outstanding back he was. Now, he doesn't call that defense. He plays the defense that's being called. But here he is down in the goal line. He's now hugging Joey Walters like he's supposed to. The ability that he does have, he bumps him, stays on the inside of him. You see, he's got his eye on the football, goes up high. Excellent interception. Got to come up with that big play down there. Whew, what a finish.
Well, the Roughriders went for broke. They went for the victory with the two-point conversion attempt. However, it was unsuccessful. The score holds at 20-19. And while it looks very much as though it will be a loss for Saskatchewan, it's something of a moral victory for this green and white team.
Without a doubt, the way they played inspired football today. At the beginning of the season, as the season progressed, we thought maybe it's going to be a 3, 4, 5-year rebuilding program for Ronnie Lancaster and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But it's very obvious all you have to do is bring some experienced talent in here, settle down the rookies, give them a little bit of guidance, and look what happens. You can't play for the tie. You go this whole game, you can't go away the bridesmaid. You got to go for the big win, and they didn't get it.
Intercepted ball in the end zone, works the 10-yard line, doesn't it?
Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders had initially lined up for the kickoff. Now there seems to be a certain amount of confusion, and the Ottawa Roughriders are going to kick off. The new rule is going to come into effect here, where the Ottawa Roughriders, and I believe this is the first time that we have seen it this year, where they elect to kick off rather than to receive. Harlan Huckabee having difficulty hanging on to that football, and he is down finally at the 9-yard line. Brad Carr made the tackle, and 15 seconds remain. Pretty good piece of strategy for the Ottawa Roughriders. First and 10, Saskatchewan, with the seconds ticking away. This undoubtedly will be the final play of the ball game. Sanders' pass intended for Walters goes incomplete, and that will be the ball game. The Ottawa Roughriders hanging on for a 20-19 victory over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, with Saskatchewan's victory string now extending through 12, or losing string, I should say, extending through 12 games. Ron Lancaster felt his team had the enthusiasm and the ability to perhaps knock off the Ottawa Roughriders this afternoon, and they certainly gave the team from the nation's capital quite a scare before going down to defeat. We'll be back with our post-game show right after this.
Ever since Alice took up running, I've been getting up every morning to pace her. Needless to say, the Malibu makes these early morning runs very easy on me. Sure, it's a lot of solid character, but between you and me, this is one beautiful running machine. And that's something I can appreciate. You had enough?
What the devil were you talking about back there?
Just talking about my Chevy.
Your Chevy? That's my Chevy. That's my Chevy.
At General Motors, we're committed to leadership in fuel efficiency.
The Mach 2 by Arrow. A tapered shirt that fits you perfectly, because only the Mach 2 is tailored to the contours of your body, with a dart here and here. Has sleeves the length you choose. And if you wish, a patented marked collar. The only collar shaped to fit the cone of your neck. That's the Mach 2, the perfect tapered shirt. Fittingly made only by Arrow.
New Envirolite plastic finish, a breakthrough in coatings. Envirolite gives rugged protection to wood, metal, anything paintable, indoors or outdoors. In tests by an independent laboratory, Envirolite outperformed all these popular enamels. Envirolite dries up to 7 times harder. It holds its high gloss up to 5 times longer. And unlike these enamels, Envirolite even washes up with water. New Envirolite, in a class by itself.
Well, a heart-stopper in Regina Taylor Field this afternoon. The Ottawa Roughriders prevailing over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but it was darn close right down to the very final moment. George Brancato, you suggested that the Saskatchewan Roughriders might give you a pretty good tussle at the outset, so you're a pretty good predictor.
This game scared me. This game scared me all week. I just wonder if our guys can get ready, and as it turned out, we weren't ready in the first half. I think we played a lot better in the second.
Saskatchewan did appear to be an improved football team.
Well, they're a hungry team. They want to win, and they've got some good football players in there now, and I think, at their skill positions, their receivers are good, and if they get a little more consistent quarterbacking, they're going to be a pretty good team.
You had problems with them in the first quarter, particularly first half. What did you do at halftime to adjust to that?
Well, really nothing. We went back with the same game plan. I think our guys just woke up. They were asleep the first half.
Looking at that last player, at least the last touchdown, first of all, you must have had a few moments of consternation about that particular play and that drive itself.
That was a heck of a drive for them to come back like that. They were a third down situation, and they made the first, and then they continued right down the field with a couple of big plays, and it's too bad Mike Nelms fell on that last touchdown, but they got it. They went for the 2 points, and proud of Ronnie going for his first win anyway, and he didn't make it.
Took advantage also on the kickoff following that of a new rule in the CFL.
It's not a new rule. It's an old rule. No, you have a choice
rule.
After any touchdown that you can kick off or receive, and with 21 seconds, I thought, let's put it down the other end.
It hasn't been used very often, I should say that, and you suggested you'd never tried it before.
I've never tried it before. I thought about it a couple of times. A couple of times I lost onside kicks and lost games like that, and I said, the heck with it, let's kick it down.
Right, well, it worked for you.
It worked.
You got to hope for the Eskimos against Montreal tomorrow and stay in that battle for first place.
Well, that's the only thing that's going to keep us in there, because we know we're tough to get into first place, and Montreal's just about got it made with 3 home games after the Eskimos, so the Eskimos are our only hope.
Thanks very much for joining us. Congratulations, George.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck next week. Okay, we've got Jimmy Jones, and that was a pretty good ball game for you guys today.
Yeah, we finally did wake up in the second half, as the coach said. We had our problems in the first half, and I'm just glad to get out of here with the win.
Actually, it looked a little close, and Saskatchewan did give you just about everything you could handle.
Well, they did. We were trying to guard against being overconfident and not being up for the game, and everyone was really trying to do their best, but somehow we just weren't ready in the first half, and they got up on us, and we were in the cellar, and it took a pretty good team to come back the way we did, and I'm proud of that.
What happens to a team when you come in against Saskatchewan like that? Why wouldn't you be up? Coach can say that the coach suggested to us on the pregame show that he had to get his team up. Why can't you get up?
Well, you're trying to get up. You're trying to do the same things that you do every week against a good ball club like Montreal or BC or someone of that nature, Edmonton. But you go through the same motions, but you just don't get the intensity, and you really don't realize that you better wake up until you get in the ball game.
Okay, let's look at a couple of big plays for the Ottawa Roughriders this afternoon. I think we've got your touchdown here.
Yeah, this was a pass play, and they gave me pretty good protection. They had, I think, a stun up the middle, and I just stepped up inside of the pocket, and I saw that I could run for the touchdown, so I took off.
Wide open on that particular win. You were 9 for 11, 130 yards on the afternoon. Not a bad afternoon. The big key pass, though, really set up that touchdown. How did you get
Well, that was a good job.
Up?
It was a good job by Tony. It was an 84 pattern, we call it, which is a sprint out, and he's supposed to run a corner pattern. And if he can't make it, then he's just supposed to hook up. And he saw that the defense was really overflowing, so he just cut back across the field, and he was all alone by himself, and I was fortunate to see him and made the throw.
Okay, congratulations on a fine afternoon and a victory over the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for joining us. Hello there. Come on in. Mr. Walker, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Big play for you late in the game.
Yeah, a couple of plays earlier, I had caught a ball and dropped it. I fumbled it, and well, Captain Cool, Jimmy Jones, said, don't worry about it, you might get the game winner, and no sooner had he said that than I picked up a fumble and ran it in.
Okay, we've got that touchdown on highlight here. If you can just describe what happened for us, please.
Okay, I think he just called a running play out the right side, a 90M, and I picked up a block on the left side and just was turned around and seen the ball on the ground and just went and picked it up.
That one's not in the playbook, eh?
No, we didn't. We've been working on that one all week, and it worked. So there it is, just picked it up and had a block right ahead of me and just ran her in.
Awfully big play at that stage of the ball game, and as it turns out, at every stage of the ball game.
Yeah, it worked out that way. They almost came back, and it wasn't almost a big play. They almost went ahead at the last couple of seconds there, and but it worked out well for myself and the team.
Ottawa had problems in the first half, first quarter in particular.
Yeah, well, this Saskatchewan team, I don't think their record is any indication of how, you know, what kind of team they had. They came out tough. They got a couple early scores, and they were on top, and they were tough. We had to come back.
What about their defense? Is that a vastly improved defense as you look at it?
Yeah, I think so. They're moving people in and out. They've been moving them in and out all year, but they've had 10 days to prepare for this game, and they did a good job.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Do I get to say hi to somebody?
So, go ahead.
Hi, Jody.
Oh, Jody. Who's Jody?
My girlfriend.
Okay. Okay, Jody. Jim Piaskowski, come on in here for a second. How are you doing?
Good. Yourself, John?
Well, I'm doing pretty well,
That's
actually.
good.
It was a whale of a ball game today.
Sure
I really
was.
enjoyed the finish.
It really was. Their offense played quite well. Our D put a little pressure on them, made them throw up a ball, got with a couple of big interceptions by Fox. I think it was Mike Nelms who got the other one, wasn't it?
Yeah. As you looked at the Roughriders of Saskatchewan this afternoon, were you surprised yourself at how well they played?
No, not really, because they had 2 weeks off to preparing for us. They got a few new ball players with Smith. Goree came back. They played one hell of a game. And, you know, they could have tied it very easily as, you know, winning it.
Okay, thanks very much for joining us. We're running a little short of time. You can't say hi to your girl.
Right.
Okay. Of course, a big game coming up in Edmonton at Commonwealth Stadium tomorrow. The Edmonton Eskimos against the Montreal Alouettes. And, of course, the Eskimos defensively led by some outstanding players like Dave Fennell and middle linebacker Dan Kepley. So now let's take a look at Dan Kepley of the Edmonton Eskimos, an outstanding middle linebacker in profile.
What about the season so far? Great year, 78. Is 79 better for you personally, do you think?
Well, it's a personal thing. I don't really set any goals personally. I would like to get better, and I think that's everybody's goal, that type of thing. But as far as to say I want to make this team or make this all-star team or end up in Japan with the Players Association, that type of thing, I really don't. The one thing that I want to do is improve as a team, have a team concept, and to get better as a unit. And I think that's the main goal that I had this year.
Why do all the players on the Eskimos talk that way about the team, and really tough to get any individual comments out of it? Is that?
I think probably that's the key to our winning right now, and the key to why we're a successful ball club is because ball players, myself, say I care as much about the guy laying next to me as I do about what happens to myself. and it's a good thing. It's a very together team. It's almost like a family out there, and that's a good way to be.
Who makes the family? I guess it's the coach, isn't it?
Well, if you got the head of the family, I think Coach Campbell does a lot for it, and the coaching staff itself. But I think mainly it comes from the inside, from the ball players themselves, that they get together. The coaches can try to make two ball players like each other and get together, but they may not necessarily fit. But with our ball club, when the way it's working now, everything is clicking together. There's times when you go out and you've got to work seriously and work hard and get the work done, and then there's times that you can play around and horse around a little. But right now, winning is very good, and I think it's a lot easier and a lot more fun to play when you're winning. But winning takes hard work, and we've got people that they don't mind to work hard. I'm my worst critic, probably, and I don't feel that I'm making enough things happen out there like I like to happen. Make a big play, cause a fumble, or intercept a pass, or make an important tackle type thing.
How do you make something happen out there? What does Kepley do to make something happen?
I don't know. I just don't stop. I would like to just you try to go 100%. And Coach Campbell came up with it this past game to not stop. Play every play to the end. And it's the type of thing that you may be going for an interception, but you think all of a sudden I look and I think maybe Butler can intercept it instead of me, and so I don't go it and he doesn't go for it. Neither one of us intercept it. So if it's going to be there, just go make the play. If a guy's got a ball clear wrapped up, I'm going to make a tackle. Don't slow down thinking that the guy's down on the ground until he is actually tackling down on the ground until the whistle blows. And I think that's the biggest thing. I just got to go, a little more than 100% on some plays.
You're looking at some of the players you go against in the CFL. What would you like them to think about Kepley, about number 42 for the Eskimos?
Well, probably that he was really 6'3" and about 240 pounds. But I think that's a little bit unbelievable. I don't know. I would like to have respect through the league. I would like to think that, if a center or a guard or somebody doesn't come out and try to block me with everything he's got, and he has to go 100%, then maybe he can't block me. But I would like to feel that they have to work as hard to block me as I have to work to get away from them, that type of thing.
In the opposition's eyes, then, would you figure you've achieved that in your CFL career already, or is there more to go?
Oh, I certainly hope there's more to go. I would like to. I don't think, I don't want to be complacent and say, okay, I'm happy with the way I played and this is it. I'm not going to strive to get any better, because I think when that happens to an individual or a ball club, it's time for you to, hang it up and time to retire and get out. Because if you're not going to work harder to make yourself better and to make the team better as you get better, then you're not really contributing anything.
What else is important in your life besides football? What else do you get involved in?
Well, I just recently, bought this house here, and I've been spending a lot of time here. And
football's been good to you?
Well, it's made it able for me to make an investment like this. I've been living in apartments most of my life, and you're just throwing away money. So it's nice in that sense. I've just gotten the landed immigrant papers, which, will give me an opportunity to take a second job or other employment. And I'm not really sure about what I want to do, because seriously, I've only played football all my life and done the odd jobs in the off season. So some type of PR, sales work or something, I would really like to get into it right now, but I still, it's still a long season. We've got a lot of games ahead, and right now that's number one in my mind.
The tough guy image, middle linebacker, all-star, do you put that on all the time, or are you a pretty tough guy?
Well, there was at times I think I had to walk around with a chip on my shoulder a lot in college and whatever. I got tired of being tagged with the stigma of being too small to do this, and the reason you weren't drafted in the NFL and was you were too short and you were too small, and the computer kicked your card out because you weren't 6'3", 230 pounds and run a 4.4 40. But I think pride and heart does have a lot to do with it, and desire. The thing of, there's a lot of ball players out there that that are good and they know they're good, but they're not, some of those are not as good as the ball players that aren't good, but they don't know they're not good, and they keep working hard and keep trying, and that's what means a lot.
Away from the game, is there a pretty soft side to Dan Kepley?
Huh. Now, you know, I can't say that publicly on the camera. I'm supposed to be the tough guy, Emmett. Yeah, I think so. I really do. I like to get away from it. I believe, like I say, back in college, you used to walk on the field and off the field, and everywhere you walked had to be a football field, because there was always somebody wanting to try you and test you. But I think I like now to be, I don't know, I guess I'm schizo in a way, maybe, because I'll go on the field, and whatever's on the field, I'll do anything it takes to win and try to work as possibly hard as I can. And when you come off, you like to leave it right there on the field, and you like to come back and to be maybe two different people. And, you know, that's kind of a good way to be sometimes.
Dan Kepley of the Edmonton Eskimos, he certainly doesn't look like a small middle linebacker having another outstanding season with the Eskimos. And of course, tomorrow on CBC television, the Eskimos at their home turf, Commonwealth Stadium, against the Montreal Alouettes. Many say it'll be a battle of the Grey Cup finalists this year. And the way it's standing right now in the East and Western Conferences, top two teams tomorrow afternoon. As part of CBC's Thanksgiving football weekend, it should be an exciting game. And we'll be on hand to bring you all the color and activity of that football match tomorrow afternoon from Commonwealth Stadium. Don Whitman, Terry Evanston, and myself, John Wells. Looking at the Saskatchewan game today against the Ottawa Roughriders, Saskatchewan gave it their all, but still didn't have quite enough to get by Ottawa and lost by 1 point, 20-19. That's everything from Taylor Field, Regina. Good day.
Canadian Professional Football on CBC. Brought to you by Canadian Pacific.